Chapter 318. Yun Zhankong was speechless. Although he was sure that the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect were killed by the disciples of thee, he could not come up with a reason. Did he have to say that the Flying Cloud sect was a traitor and had joined forces with the East supporting sect? Therefore, the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect were killed by the disciples of the Falling Star sect? Although that was the truth, he could not say it out loud. If Yun Zhanfei said that, it would not be the disciples of the Falling Star sect who killed the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect, but the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect. Traitors should be killed. Yun Zhankong's eyes were filled with anger and he could not vent it out. He could only glare at Yixing with murderous intent in his eyes. The Flying Cloud sect could not avenge their disciples openly. Even if Yun Zhankong wanted Yixing's life, he could only do it secretly. At this moment, he had no reason to kill Yixing. Tian Luo sect leader Luo Zhan had decided to nurture Yixing and improve their relationship with the Falling Star sect. Seeing that the Falling Star sect was being attacked by the East supporting sect and the Flying Cloud sect, Luo Zhan walked out. Luo Zhan said, "In the Azure Cloud ancient land, it's a battle between the younger generation. Life and death is a common occurrence in the world of martial artists. Now that the Azure Cloud ancient land is closed, the matter inside has come to an end. If anyone is dissatisfied and wants to take revenge, they can wait until the Azure Cloud ancient land opens again 5 years later. Then, they can let their disciples regain their dignity in the Azure Cloud ancient land. Instead of fighting now, it's time for the 10 sects grand competition." The Sun Moon sect leader Yin Wudao nodded and agreed with Luo Zhan's words. He said, "That's right. Now is the time for the 10 sects grand competition." The Sun Moon sect had 2 young masters. Moreover, the Yin Yang master was ranked first among the 6 young masters. He had broken through to the 8-star martial saint realm in the Azure Cloud ancient land and his strength was terrifying. In Yin Wudao's opinion, the Sun Moon sect would be the only one in the 10 sects grand competition and it was the best time for the Sun Moon sect to shine. According to the schedule, after the Green Cloud ancient land closed, it would be the time for the grand competition of the younger generation of the 10 sects. Since Luo Zhan and Yin Wudao had already said that they would temporarily put aside their grudges and hold the 10 sects grand tournament, the East supporting sect and Flying Cloud sect naturally didn't dare to say anything. The top 10 sects each occupied one side of the plain outside the Qingyun ancient land, leaving an empty area with a radius of 1,000 meters in the middle for the competition. For the 10 sect grand tournament, each sect had to fork out 60,000 low-grade astral crystals as the wager. The total was 600,000. 600,000 low-grade astral crystals would only be given to the top 3 of the 10 sect grand tournament. The first prize was 300,000, the second prize was 200,000, and the third prize was 100,000. The reward would be split equally with the sect. Basically, in every 10 sects grand competition, the top 3 would be born from the 4 northern sects. In the past 1,000 years, the number of times the disciples of the 6 southern sects had made it into the top 3 could be counted on one hand. In every 10 sect grand tournament, the 6 southern sects had to contribute 360,000 low-grade astral crystals. However, they basically didn't get any rewards. In fact, this was a kind of oppression and exploitation of the 6 southern sects, but the 6 southern sects had no choice but to agree. Because the 6 southern sects had to give the 4 northern sects a sum of low-grade astral crystals every 5 years, the 4 northern sects rarely interfered with the matters of the 6 southern sects. This was actually equivalent to a protection fee. Moreover, it wasn't that the 4 northern sects didn't give the 6 southern sects a chance. As long as the 6 southern sects disciples could make it into the top 3, they would still be able to win the rewards. The quota for the 10 sect grand tournament was for the 6 southern sects 3 most elite disciples and for the 4 northern sects 6 disciples, a total of 42 people. However, the East supporting sect and Flying Cloud sect's disciples who entered the Qingyun ancient land were all annihilated. This time, they couldn't send anyone to participate in the 10 sect grand tournament. Excluding these 6 people, there were a total of 36 people. Although no disciples participated, the wager of 60,000 low-grade astral crystals couldn't be less. This was the rule. Yun Zhankong didn't feel anything when the Flying Cloud sect handed over 60,000 low-grade astral crystals. Anyway, the Flying Cloud sect couldn't get it back. However, Watanabe Tan was furious when the East supporting sect handed over 60,000 low-grade astral crystals. The East supporting sect had young Master Watanabe, who was second only to the Yin-Yang young Master in terms of talent. This time, the East supporting sect should have shone brightly in the 10-sect Grand Tournament and had the hope of rushing into the top 3. The disciples of the 6 southern sects would not only be able to get a lot of rewards but also a kind of glory if they rushed into the top 3 in the 10-sect Grand Tournament. However, the East supporting sect's disciples were annihilated. After handing over 60,000 low-grade astral crystals, they could only watch the disciples of the other sects perform. How could he not be furious? He clenched his fist tightly and glanced at the people of the Falling Star sect fiercely. His eyes were filled with killing intent. You won't live for long. Later, I will step on all of you and torture you to death one by one. Especially Yixing, that little bastard. I will let you live a life worse than death as a sacrifice to my sect's disciples in heaven. Watanabe Tan said fiercely in his heart. Swoosh. 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 The Sun Moon sect, the Stygian sect, the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect each sent out a astral realm sage and landed in 4 different directions. They were the referees of the 10-sect Grand Tournament. Each of the 4 northern sects had 1 judge. The Sun Moon sect was now the strongest and had the momentum of being the leader of the 4 sects. After the 4 sage landed, the sage of the Sun Moon sect waved his hand and said, "The 10-sect Grand Tournament starts now. Disciples of the various sects who are participating in the 10-sect Grand Tournament, please step forward." Those who participated in the 10-sect Grand Tournament were the most elite disciples. The Falling Star sect sent out Yixing, Maran and Qi Jingyang. The Spirit Moon sect, the Holy Wind sect and the Blood Ghost sect sent out 2 7-star martial sages and 1 peak 6-star martial sage. Other than the 5 young masters, the 4 8-star martial sages of the 4 northern sects naturally participated in the tournament. The rest were late 7-star martial sages or peak 7-star martial sages. Because the disciples of the East supporting sect and the Flying Cloud sect were missing, there were only 36 people in total. Therefore, after 2 rounds, there were only 9 junior experts left. The other 18 people were all eliminated. The remaining 9 people were Yixing, Young Master Tian Luo, Young Master Yin Yang, Young Master Great Sun, Young Master Thunder, Young Master Dark Nether, Young Master Thunder, Lei Yun, Ming Shuang and Luoying. The 5 young masters were naturally all here. Among the 4 8-star martial sages, only Yang Kuan of the Sun Moon sect was eliminated. In the second round, Yang Kuan's opponent was Yixing. Yang Kuan had suffered a great loss in Yixing's hands and directly admitted defeat. At this time, Yixing was already a peak 7-star martial sage. He had obtained great benefits in the Yama Fire Sea. The star essence in his body had strengthened to the limit of martial sage. If it was not for his state of mind, he could continue to break through to 8-star martial sage. As for Yixing's cultivation, most people thought that Yixing had deliberately hidden it. In fact, he was originally a 7-star martial sage. That was why he had the strength to defeat 8-star martial sages. On the contrary, if Yixing was really a 6-star martial sage before, he could defeat 3 8-star martial sages who were 2 levels higher than him. This was completely comparable to the young Master Yin Yang's ability to challenge people who were 2 levels higher than him. Everyone felt that it was unreal. After all, geniuses who could challenge people of a higher level were very rare. It was not that easy to appear. Therefore, when they saw that Yixing was a 7-star martial sage, everyone was relieved. It turned out that he had hidden his cultivation. However, the martial artists of the Falling Star sect were very clear that Yixing had not hidden his cultivation. They had witnessed Yixing's growth with their own eyes. When Yixing had entered the outer sect of the, he had only been an ordinary star-tempering realm martial artist. Lu Tianyuan was very confident in this 10 sects grand tournament. When Yixing was a 5-star martial sage, he had defeated Yunfeng, who was known as the invincible 7-star martial sage. Not only was he fighting people who were 2 levels higher than him, but he was also an intermediate martial sage challenging an advanced martial sage. It was very difficult. Yixing was now a 7-star martial sage, an advanced martial sage. Challenging a 9-star martial sage was within the range of an advanced martial sage. Therefore, the difficulty seemed to be lower than that of a 5-star martial sage challenging a 7-star martial sage. Therefore, Lu Tianyuan was very sure that Yixing's strength was definitely comparable to the few young masters. Perhaps only the young master Yin Yang and young master Tian Luo, who had broken through to the 9-star martial sage, could pose a threat to Yixing. As for young master Dari, young master Nether, and young master Thunderbolt, Lu Tianyuan thought that Yixing had a high chance of winning. If Yixing could defeat young master Dari, young master Nether, and young master Thunderbolt, it meant that he would enter the top 3 and be able to obtain the rewards of the 10 sects grand tournament. This was already a great honor for the 6 southern sects. Lu Tianyuan did not expect Yixing to win first or second place. His goal was to be third. As long as Yixing entered the top 3, the Falling Star sect would be proud and have unlimited glory. Chapter 319. From this round onwards, the elimination round will be changed to a point competition. The top 9 will have to fight against the other 8. The winner will get 1 point, and the loser will lose 1 point. The top 3 will be ranked according to the points and will receive the rewards of the 10 sects tournament. The enlightened master of the Sun-Moon sect said loudly. Everyone was surprised. In the past, the 10 sects grand tournament was always an elimination round. Why would it be a point competition this time? Yixing reacted at this moment. If it was an elimination round, he would be eliminated if he lost to a young master. The other young masters wouldn't even have a chance to take revenge on him in the 10 sects grand tournament. If it was a point competition, even if Yixing lost to a young master, he wouldn't be eliminated immediately. He would still have to fight against the other young masters. In this way, the young masters who wanted to take care of Yixing would all have a chance. If Yixing could react, so could the others. The leader of the Tian Luo sect, Luo Zhan, said, "I don't agree with changing the rules of the 10 sects tournament. We should continue with the elimination rounds. The winner will advance and the loser will be eliminated. Now that there are 9 people, we can let the Yin Yang young master advance and the other 8 will fight." The young master of the Yin Yang sect was ranked first among the 6 young masters. Naturally, no one objected to letting him advance. It was a good thing for the Sun-Moon sect. However, the sect master of the Sun-Moon sect didn't appreciate it. Yin Wudao said, "For the sake of fairness, the point competition is the best. Although the elimination round is simple, if the strong meet too early, the strong will be eliminated prematurely. This is not fair." The sect master of the Stygian sect, Ming Li, said, "I agree with the point competition." The sect master of the Azure Thunder sect, Lei Zhen, didn't stand on the same side. He said, "I agree with the point competition too." In the elimination round, Yixing might be eliminated before he could meet the young master of the Thunderbolt. Lei Zhen obviously wanted to give his son a chance to take revenge on Yixing in the 10 sects grand tournament. "I agree. I agree too." The East supporting sect, the Divine Wind sect, the Blood Spectre sect, and the Flying Cloud sect all agreed. More than half of the top 10 sects agreed, so the point competition was naturally decided. Lu Tianyuan furrowed his brows slightly. He also felt that something was amiss. It seemed like the next match would be targeted at Yixing. Although he was very confident in Yixing, it was still just a guess. He still had to verify it with actual combat. Naturally, he was worried. As for Yixing, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Points competition? All of them wanted to take revenge on him. Huh. We still don't know who will be the one getting beaten up. Yixing clenched his fists and felt the pure physical strength. He was full of confidence. His current physical strength was enough to crush most 9-star martial sages. Other than Yin Yang Young Master and Tian Luo Young Master, he did not take the other young masters seriously. After confirming the point competition, the Sun Moon Sect's enlightened master looked over at the Falling Star Sect. Yixing, you are the new star of the 10 sects grand competition. Come up first. Lu Tianyuan patted Yixing's shoulder and said, be careful. If you can't beat them, don't fight to the death. You can admit defeat. Yixing was the most talented disciple in the history of the Falling Star Sect. Lu Tianyuan did not want anything to happen to him. Yixing's eyes were filled with confidence. He said, don't worry, sect leader. Wait for my triumphant return. After saying that, Yixing walked to the center of the flat ground. The Fire Cloud Lion obeyed Yixing's order and did not follow him. When Yixing went up, the Sun Moon Sect's enlightened master said loudly, the first battle, Yixing against the Dark Nether Young Master. Many people were surprised. In the top 9, there were 3 ordinary 8-star martial sages. Yixing's first battle was not with one of the 3, but with a young master. The Dark Nether Young Master was a peak 8-star martial sage. In terms of combat strength, he was more powerful than many 9-star martial sages. At this moment, Yixing was fighting against a 9-star martial sage. Yixing was only a 7-star martial sage. The Dark Nether Young Master's eyes were filled with ferocity. His body was like a phantom. In a flash, he appeared among the disciples of the Dark Nether sect and stood in front of Yixing. After being treated by a medium-grade healing spiritual pill, the Dark Nether Young Master's injuries had healed. His broken lips were also healed. However, the new flesh around the wound was a little different from the old flesh on his lips. There were 2 obvious scars that divided his lips into 4 parts. The Dark Nether Young Master stared at Yixing and clenched his fist. It was as if he was holding Yixing in his palm. He said with a ferocious expression. Yixing, without the help of the demonic beasts, let's see how you can escape from me today. I will return the humiliation you gave me in the clear cloud ancient land 10-fold, no, 100-fold. Yixing looked coldly at the Dark Nether Young Master and said indifferently. So what if I don't have the help of the demonic beasts? I don't want to dirty my hands when dealing with an arrogant piece of trash like you. That's why I let the demonic beasts do it. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll wake you up today. You're just an arrogant piece of trash. Don't always think that you're a genius. What kind of child-level genius are you? You don't deserve such a title. What did you say? The Dark Nether Young Master was enraged. His terrifying aura instantly erupted like a ferocious beast. He was a child-level genius, a 6-star yellow life genius. Moreover, he had excellent martial arts talent and the ability to challenge those of a higher rank. Even in the 4 northern sects, he was a rare genius. If it weren't for the Yin Yang Young Master overshadowing his brilliance and the other child-level geniuses distracting his brilliance, every time a genius like him appeared in the history of the Qingyun region, he would be able to suppress all heroes and become the pinnacle expert of the Qingyun region, sweeping across all directions. The rest of the martial artists were also shocked by Yixing's words. In their eyes, the Dark Nether Young Master was an extraordinary genius. However, in Yixing's eyes, he was just an arrogant piece of trash. The difference was too big. Yixing's words obviously didn't get the approval of the crowd. In the eyes of most people, Yixing was the real arrogant one. Ming Li, the sect master of the Xianming sect, snorted angrily. The top genius of the Xianming sect in the past 300 years had actually been called a piece of trash by Yixing. Ming Li's anger was instantly ignited. His eyes revealed a cruel look. He couldn't wait to see the scene of the Dark Nether young master torturing Yixing. In the face of the Dark Nether young master's angry roar, Yixing remained calm and indifferent. Yixing said, "There are so many geniuses in the world. You're just an outstanding martial artist among the younger generation in the Qingyun region. If you consider the entire true Xian domain, you're nothing. If you consider the entire star continent, you're even more unknown. However, you think that you're the pride of this generation. Young master is a genius. Other than those who are already as famous as you, you don't care about anyone else. What makes you think that I'm not your match without the help of a demonic beast? You're just an arrogant piece of trash, aren't you?" The Dark Nether young master was furious and shouted, "Bullshit. You think you can surpass me? Die for me." As he spoke, a mid-grade spirit spear appeared in his hand. As soon as he finished speaking, the Dark Nether young master stabbed the spear at Yixing. The tip of the spear shot out a dazzling light. The body of the spear was like a dragon, containing an extremely terrifying power. Facing this spear, Yixing didn't dodge. Instead, he used his palm like a blade and slashed out horizontally. Before the tip of the spear could reach Yixing's body, the tip of the spear was chopped by Yixing's palm blade. Clang! The palm blade collided with the tip of the spear, producing an explosive sound. The Dark Nether young master was shocked. He felt a terrifying power coming from the mid-grade spirit spear. In an instant, the mid-grade spirit spear was deflected to the side and stabbed empty air. "Is this all you've got?" Chapter 320. All the surrounding martial artists were dumbfounded and shocked. Even the senior perfected masters from the 4 northern sects and the 6 southern sects were no exception. The Dark Nether young master was sent flying by Yixing's punch. Yes, it was just one punch. Moreover, Yixing did not use his celestial essence, spiritual martial arts, or spiritual weapon. It was just an ordinary punch, and the martial skill he used was only a mediocre martial skill among ordinary martial skills. However, it actually sent the Nether Dark Prince flying with a single punch. Moreover, the Dark Nether young master vomited blood. Looking at the scene in front of them, the martial artists could not believe it. Just how much power did Yixing's punch possess to be able to send young Master Dark Nether flying while vomiting blood? And this was just pure physical strength. How strong did his physical body have to be to have such terrifying strength? How could a martial sage have such terrifying strength? The surrounding martial artists were surprised and puzzled. As the person involved, the Dark Nether young master was even more shocked. After flying back dozens of meters, the Dark Nether young master landed on the ground and then took a few more steps back before his body stabilized. Yixing was not in a hurry to attack with his spear. Instead, he clenched his fists and the sound of bones cracking could be heard. He slowly walked toward the Dark Nether young master. Yixing said, "You can't even take one punch from me. Tell me, are you a genius or a piece of trash?" The Dark Nether young master's eyes were filled with anger and he shouted, "You just have a strong physical strength because of a fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, how could you be my opponent? No matter how strong the physical strength is, there is a limit. The martial Tao is endless. You think you can compare with me? You are the piece of trash." Whoosh! As he spoke, a starlight rushed out from between the Dark Nether young master's eyebrows and turned into a huge star suspended in the sky. This was a water-type star. The entire star was a vast sea with turbulent waves, revealing the vast water-type star power. It was a high-grade astrology. After using the astrology, the Dark Nether young master's strength skyrocketed. His momentum doubled and his eyes revealed confidence. Celestial essence can be combined with the astrology, doubling or even several times the power. What's the use of your strong physical body? The power of the astrology can only be combined with celestial essence. Even if you use the astrology, it can't improve your physical strength. How can you fight with me? The dark nether young master's eyes flashed with a fierce light and he shouted, "Raging dragon goes to the sea." As soon as he finished speaking, the dark nether prince leaped into the air. His water element celestial body poured down an endless amount of star energy and stabbed out with the mid-grade spirit spear. Boom! As the dark nether young noble thrust his spear forward, a huge dragon rushed out from the boundless sea of the water element constellation, letting out an earth-shattering roar. The power of this spear was too terrifying. Apart from the young noble-level geniuses, the rest of the younger generation of the 10 great sects were all shocked. They could feel the power of the nether young master's spear. If they faced this move, they would definitely be killed in an instant. Even an 8-star martial sage was no exception. The dark nether young master's most powerful attack could even kill an ordinary 9-star martial sage. Naturally, its power was peerless. However, Yixing's expression remained unchanged in the face of the dark nether young master's attack. He said lightly, "Is this your limit?" As he spoke, Yixing bent his legs and bounced his body, instantly shooting towards the raging dragon that was surging towards him along with the middle-grade spirit spear. Yixing still did not use his celestial essence. Naturally, he did not use his spiritual martial arts. He did not even use his weapon. He was going to collide with the dark nether young master's most powerful attack head-on. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened. In many people's view, Yixing's move was simply crazy. It was almost suicidal. "Break for me!" Yixing roared. His entire body erupted with a terrifying aura like a landslide and a tsunami. He threw a punch forward. This punch had a peerless and invincible spirit. A huge shadow of a flood dragon was hidden in Yixing's punch. Ordinary martial arts, upper-grade martial skill, Overlord Flood Dragon Fist. The martial artists present were all ordinary martial artists. Many of them had seen the Overlord Flood Dragon Fist before. However, they had never seen such a terrifying Overlord Flood Dragon Fist. Boom! The raging dragon that was condensed by water-type star force was directly smashed by Yixing's punch. The dragon's head collapsed inch by inch. Looking at the exploding water dragon that was dozens of feet long, many martial artists' eyes almost popped out. Yixing's physical strength had reached such a level. His punch was extremely overbearing. Everything in front of him was shattered by the power of this punch. The dark nether young master felt a terrifying recoil from the collapsing water dragon. His body shook and the spirit weapon treasure spear that was thrusting forward also paused for a moment. At this moment, Yixing had rushed in front of the treasure spear. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the spear shaft. The dark nether young master was shocked and quickly pulled back the spear. However, the spirit weapon treasure spear was held in Yixing's hand. It was as if it had grown roots and did not move. Yixing pulled the spirit weapon treasure spear behind him and shouted, "Take my punch too." Boom! Yixing threw a punch. The void in front of him exploded and the air in the void burst out in all directions. The dark nether young master's body was thrown forward by the spirit weapon treasure spear and just happened to hit the tip of Yixing's punch. The protective celestial essence instantly collapsed under the power of this punch. Yixing's fierce punch directly hit the dark nether young master's chest. The dark nether young master suddenly screamed. His hands could no longer hold on to the spirit weapon treasure spear. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his body shot backwards. This time, the dark nether prince's body took a direct hit from Yixing's punch. His internal organs were all shifted, and he was severely injured. He flew back dozens of meters in the air and fell to the ground. He rolled several times and couldn't get up for a while. Whoosh! A cold light cut through the sky. Then, with a ding sound, a long spear stabbed into the ground beside the dark nether young master. It was his middle-grade spirit weapon. Yixing had snatched it away and thrown it out. Yixing threw the middle-grade spirit weapon and said, "The Dark Nether young master is nothing more than this." The surrounding area was silent. All the cultivators were shocked by Yixing's performance. They never expected that Yixing would have such powerful physical strength. He was even stronger than the Dark Nether young master when he used his astrology. It was shocking. Although after a cultivator became a martial sage, they would no longer cultivate their corporeal body and would instead focus on cultivating their celestial essence. A powerful corporeal body was almost like an external force for a cultivator above the martial sage realm. But in any case, the physical body was one's own strength and not a true external force. Many of the younger generation martial artists were envious of Yixing's powerful physical strength. "How dare you?" The sect leader of the Xianming sect, Mingli, came to his senses. Seeing that young Master Dark Nether was heavily injured, he was enraged and shouted, "Little bastard, how dare you injure my Xianming sect's disciple? You're courting death." Young Master Dark Nether was the #1 genius of the mysterious Nether sect in the past 300 years. The sect master of the mysterious Nether sect had spent a lot of effort on him and doted on him a lot. Now that he had personally witnessed the Dark Nether young master getting injured in front of him, how could he not be furious? The Dark Nether young master had a violent temper, a vicious character, and considered everything beneath his notice. A large part of the reason for this was because the Dark Nether sect's director had allowed him to act recklessly. The leader of the Tian Luo sect, Luo Zhan, said, "Are you a sore loser, underworld faction leader? If you can't afford to lose, why don't you admit defeat earlier? At least you won't lose both your wealth and your reputation." Luo Zhan wanted to cultivate Yixing to be Yixing's shield and to counter the Xianming sect. Mingli was furious, but Luo Zhan's words made him speechless. He could only swallow his anger. The Dark Nether young master stood up. Thinking about his previous bold words, his face was full of shame, but his eyes were filled with resentment. "Yixing, I'm not done with you." The Dark Nether young master roared in a low voice. He pulled out the middle-grade spiritual spear beside him and returned to the Xianming sect's area. One of the 4 judges, the Sun-Moon sect spiritual master, announced loudly, "The second round, Yixing versus the Thunder young master." According to the original plan, the second round was to be fought by young Master Dari so that the Dark Nether young master and young Master Dari could vent their resentment of being humiliated by Yixing in the Qingyun ancient land. However, the Dark Nether young master was defeated in the first round. Yixing's strength was obviously stronger than the Dark Nether young master. On the other hand, the Dark Nether young master's strength was similar to the Dark Nether young master's, so it was likely that he would be defeated. Therefore, the Thunder young master and Yixing would fight first to exhaust Yixing's physical strength. The Sun-Moon sect spiritual master planned to let young Master Dari fight in the third round. Chapter 321. The Thunderbolt young master came to the center of the field and faced Yixing from afar. Previously, the Thunderbolt young master was looking forward to fighting with Yixing as soon as possible to avenge the humiliation he suffered in the Azure Cloud ancient land. However, when it was time to fight with Yixing, his eyes were filled with fear. Even though he thought he was stronger than the Dark Nether young master, he had no chance of winning against Yixing. Yixing sized up the Thunderbolt young master. In his opinion, the Thunderbolt young master should be the strongest among the younger generation besides the Yinyang young master and Tian Luo young master. It was because the Thunderbolt young master had cultivated the Thunder attribute inheritance. The Thunder attribute martial arts were extremely ferocious and powerful. In addition to his martial arts talent, other than the Yinyang young master, who had outstanding combat strength, who could suppress him, young Master Tian Luo should only be able to defeat him by relying on his cultivation. If their cultivation bases were on the same level, Tian Luo young master might not be a match for the Thunderbolt young master. Naturally, the other young masters would be weaker than the Thunderbolt young master. The reason why Yixing came to this conclusion was firstly because the Thunder martial skill was indeed powerful. Secondly, in the Azure Cloud ancient land, when the Thunderbolt young master and the Enyang young master were fighting for the upper-grade spiritual martial gloves, the Thunderbolt young master was only at a slight disadvantage. That was enough to prove the Thunderbolt young master's power. However, even if he was facing the Enyang young master, Yixing was not afraid at all. As for the Thunderbolt young master, he was just a little more alert. The Thunderbolt young master sized up Yixing for a while and said, "Yixing, let's settle this in one move." The Thunderbolt young master's martial skill was ferocious. As the saying went, hard cannot last long and soft cannot be defended. He was not suited for a long battle. He liked to attack quickly and fiercely. This was especially true for a move that erupted with all his strength. It was especially terrifying. If he could not defeat Yixing with a single move, then the chances of him winning would be very low if he continued to fight. Therefore, young Master Thunderclap had limited himself to one move. He did not want to lose face again if he lost. Yixing nodded. "Sure, we'll decide it in one move." The Thunderbolt young master's forte was to clash head-on. This was also the forte of Yixing's fleshly body. Yixing's fleshly body could almost sweep away 9-star martial saints. Although the Thunderbolt young master was strong, he was not stronger than a peak 9-star martial saint. Yixing was confident of defeating him in one move. Besides, Yixing could use his superbrain to scan his opponent and search for the openings in his opponent's moves. If his opponent was really so strong that Yixing could not defeat him in one hit, Yixing could attack his opponent's openings to ensure that he would not lose. Yixing's goal in this 10-sex grand tournament was to be number 1. He had to win all the way and not draw with anyone. Seeing that Yixing agreed to decide the battle in one move, the Thunderbolt young master was overjoyed. He said, "Good. Your fleshly body is very strong, but I don't know if you can withstand this thunderlight break of mine." As he spoke, a ray of starlight shot out from between the Thunderbolt young master's eyebrows and turned into a huge star suspended in the sky. This star was ordinary, but there was something unusual about it. The entire star was flashing with lightning. This was a lightning-attributed star. The Thunderbolt young master cultivated lightning-attributed inheritances, lightning-attributed martial arts, and possessed a lightning-attributed astrology. His strength was indeed extraordinary and could sweep away those of the same level. Other than the Enyang young master, even the other young masters of the same level were slightly inferior to him. Everyone's attention was focused on the battle between Yixing and the Thunderbolt young master. The fleshly body strength that Yixing had just exploded was really terrifying. However, the Thunderbolt young master's strength was not something that the Dark Nether young master could compare to. Moreover, the Thunderbolt young master's specialty was his ferocity. Would Yixing be able to withstand the Thunderbolt young master's strongest attack? After a few breaths, the Thunderbolt young master did not attack. Instead, he frowned and looked at Yixing. He said, "You're not going to use your astrology?" Yixing said, "Astrology can't enhance the fleshly body's strength. Why should I use it?" The Thunderbolt young master said, "You can use your celestial essence and the power of your astrology to complement your fleshly body's strength. That way, you can erupt with a greater power." Yixing said indifferently, "No need." The Thunderbolt young master's face turned solemn. His eyes narrowed as he shouted, "Then don't say that this young master is bullying you with the power of the astrology. Lose for me." Thunderbolt, Light, Break. Thunderbolt Break was the ultimate move of the Thunder Rush Palm. The Thunderbolt young master's attainment in the Thunder Rush Palm had reached the major completion stage. Its power was not to be underestimated. Especially when combined with the lightning-attributed astrology, this move was even more terrifying. At this moment, lightning flashed on the Thunderbolt young master's body. Suddenly, his body shone brightly. The lightning-attributed astrology poured down a massive amount of lightning-attributed stellar force. The Thunderbolt young master condensed it in his palm and slammed it toward Yi Xing. Boom! With a loud explosion, the void shook violently. The Thunderbolt young master turned into a bolt of lightning and shot toward Yi Xing in an instant. At the front of the bolt of lightning was the Thunderbolt young master's palm. It instantly shattered the airflow in the void and formed a shockwave that was visible to the naked eye. Yi Xing's pupils shrank. This move was indeed powerful and peerless. Whether it was the lightning-attributed celestial essence, lightning-attributed martial arts, lightning-attributed stellar force, or the thunder momentum, all of them fused together and erupted with a horrifying power in a short time. If Yi Xing fought with the Thunderbolt young master head-on, not only would he not be able to defeat him with just the power of his fleshly body, but he would also not be able to gain any advantage. At the critical moment, Yi Xing quickly stepped back. At the same time, he activated his super brain to scan. Yi Xing's wind momentum had reached the minute's subtlety. Coupled with the consummate heavenly bat steps, he could move within a small range. It was almost like teleportation. His body flickered and retreated dozens of meters. Yi Xing's retreat was beyond the Thunderbolt young master's expectations. Moreover, the speed of his retreat was so fast that the Thunderbolt young master could not react in time. The power contained in this palm strike burst out in full force. A big pit instantly appeared where Yi Xing stood. Moreover, the power of this palm strike continued to move forward. It carried a horrifying shockwave as it continued to attack forward. Yi Xing retreated dozens of meters. He could not completely avoid the thunder light break. However, the moment the thunder light break erupted, its power would be at its strongest. After that, it would gradually weaken. Even though Yi Xing had only retreated dozens of meters, the thunder light break still blasted a distance of dozens of meters in the blink of an eye and arrived in front of Yi Xing. However, Yi Xing had already avoided the strongest point of this move. Moreover, he had already found the flaw of this move. Boom! Yi Xing blasted out a punch. An overbearing flood dragon's phantom flashed and integrated into Yi Xing's fist. The void in front of Yi Xing suddenly exploded under Yi Xing's punch. The shockwave caused by the thunder light break dissipated in an instant. However, a new shockwave appeared in front of Yi Xing's fist. Bang! In the blink of an eye, Yi Xing's fist collided with the Thunderbolt young master's palm. The terrifying power collided with each other, resulting in a deafening explosion. Electric arcs splashed out in all directions and collapsed in an instant. The Thunderbolt young master spat out a mouthful of blood and instantly flew backwards. When the Thunderbolt young master's move was at its strongest, Yi Xing had managed to avoid it. Now that its power had weakened, Yi Xing had also managed to hit the flaw. Therefore, he naturally could not compete with Yi Xing's punch. However, when the Thunderbolt young master's lightning-attributed celestial essence landed on Yi Xing's fist, it made Yi Xing feel very uncomfortable. He immediately retracted his fist as if he had received an electric shock and took a few steps back. As the electric arcs rushed into Yi Xing's fist, Yi Xing immediately felt a sharp pain as if he was being pricked by countless needles. If Yi Xing had worn a glove or a spirit weapon, it would have blocked the pain of the electric shock. Compared to Yi Xing, who only took a few steps back, the Thunderbolt young master was in a much more miserable state. He retreated dozens of meters before falling back again and again. In the end, he could not stabilize his body and fell to the ground. After the two exchanged a move, Yi Xing only took a few steps back. However, the Thunderbolt young master was sent flying dozens of meters away and even spat out a mouthful of blood. Since it was decided in one move, it was clear who the winner and who the loser was. The Thunderbolt young master's injuries were much lighter compared to the Dark Nether young master. Therefore, he immediately got up. You won. I accept my loss wholeheartedly. The Thunderbolt young master cupped his fists and said. There was no longer any arrogance on his face. Even his resentment towards Yi Xing had greatly reduced. Yi Xing had defeated him with just his physical strength. This proved that Yi Xing was even more monstrous than him. How could the Thunderbolt young master still be unconvinced? Yi Xing nodded towards the Thunderbolt young master. This person's bearing was much stronger compared to the Dark Nether young master. Everyone saw that Yi Xing had won another round. Although they had expected it, they still couldn't help but exclaim. Yi Xing's strength was indeed formidable. Among the young masters, only the Yin Yang young master and the Tian Luo young master could fight against him. Although the Great Sun young master hadn't fought with Yi Xing yet, everyone knew that the Great Sun young master's strength was slightly inferior to the Thunderbolt young master. He definitely wasn't a match for Yi Xing. Chapter 322. After the Thunderbolt young master stepped down, the Celestial Net Sect's judge spoke. Yi Xing, you fought 2 rounds in a row. Go and rest. Yi Xing nodded. Although he hadn't used his celestial essence and hadn't consumed much of his energy, he didn't feel tired. However, there was no need for him to take turns fighting others. Yi Xing was about to step down when the Sun-Moon Sect's judge said, "Wait, you haven't even used your celestial essence. How can you be exhausted? Why are you in such a hurry to step down?" The Celestial Net Sect's judge said, "He has fought 2 rounds in a row. He should step down and rest. If he fights 3 rounds in a row, wouldn't he be taking turns fighting others?" The Sun-Moon Sect's judge said, "If he has consumed too much of his energy, he shouldn't be fighting. However, he hasn't used his celestial essence yet. Let alone 3 rounds in a row, even 4 rounds in a row wouldn't be a problem. No need to be long-winded. For the 3rd round, your Celestial Net Sect's Luo Lai will fight." The Profound Underworld Sect's judge said, "Yang Nan spiritual master is right. Yi Xing, continue fighting." The Celestial Net Sect's judge still wanted to argue, but Yi Xing raised his hand and interrupted, "I haven't consumed much of my energy in the first 2 rounds. If you want me to continue, then let's fight. However, it's only the 3rd round. Don't you think it's too early to let young Master Tian Luo be my opponent?" The Celestial Net Sect's judge said, "None of your Sun-Moon Sect's geniuses have moved. How about this, Luoying, you go up for this round." Luoying didn't go up. Instead, she said, "I'm not Yi Xing's opponent. I admit defeat." Even the Dark Nether young master and the Thunderbolt young master were defeated by Yi Xing. Luoying was certainly not Yi Xing's opponent. Her admitting defeat was expected by everyone. The Celestial Net Sect's judge said, "Yi Xing has fought 3 rounds. You can go down and rest now." The Sun-Moon Sect's enlightened master said, "You didn't make a move in the 3rd round. How can this be considered 3 consecutive rounds? Let's continue. Yang Gan, you're up for this round." Then, this person immediately sent a true essence sound transmission to young Master Great Sun Yang Gan. Yi Xing must have had a fortuitous encounter in the Blue Cloud ancient land that allowed him to enhance his body strength to such a degree. The power of his celestial essence shouldn't be much. After defeating Yin Fan and Lei Bao, he should have consumed a lot of his physical strength. Seize this opportunity and defeat this boy. Young Master Great Sun nodded slightly, and with a leap, he landed in front of Yi Xing. Young Master Great Sun's eyes flashed with a sharp light, locking onto Yi Xing's body. His true essence sound transmission echoed in Yi Xing's ears. "You're just relying on your fortuitous encounter to strengthen your body. However, I don't believe that your energy is limitless. You must have used up a lot of energy to defeat the Dark Nether Prince and the Thunder Prince. Now, let me take care of you." A crimson spear appeared in young Master Great Sun's hand. It was a mid-grade spirit weapon. Holding the mid-grade spirit weapon, young Master Great Sun slammed it on the ground, his mouth revealing a faint smile. Yi Xing looked at young Master Great Sun indifferently, walking forward step by step. "Even if I consumed a lot of energy to defeat the Dark Nether Prince and the Thunder Prince, it's more than enough to deal with you." The smile on young Master Great Sun's face froze. In fact, he was very afraid of Yi Xing. His strength was comparable to the Dark Nether Prince, but the latter couldn't even block a single punch from Yixing. If Yixing didn't consume much energy in the battle with the Dark Nether Prince and the Thunder Prince, then it would be difficult for young Master Great Sun to be Yixing's opponent. However, young Master Great Sun didn't believe that Yixing didn't consume much energy after defeating two young Master Geniuses in a row. In a battle between masters, when victory was decided in a single move, that single move often contained the majority of a martial artist's mind and energy. Every move would consume a great deal of energy. Yixing had defeated the Thunderclap young master with a single move. With this thought, young Master Great Sun's heart relaxed, and he said, "This young master wants to see how you can defeat me easily, Today, you will be defeated by this young master's solar flame spear." Whoosh! As he spoke, a ray of starlight shot out from between young Master Great Sun's eyebrows, forming a giant flaming star above him. High-grade celestial form, Earth Flame. Among the 5 element celestial forms, the most common were the 5 elements. However, among the 5 element celestial forms, the water and fire element celestial forms were the most common. Among them, the fire element celestial forms were far more common than the water element celestial forms. On average, 1 out of 5 martial artists would have a fire element celestial form, and so on. Even among the martial Dao geniuses, fire element celestial forms were more common. Young Master Great Sun didn't dare to underestimate Yixing, and he didn't launch any probing attacks. Before the battle, he had already used his celestial forms. Extreme Sun Birth Flame, kill! Young Master Great Sun shouted. In an instant, an endless amount of fire element celestial forms rained down, illuminating the mid-grade spiritual spear. It was incomparably dazzling, and no one dared to look directly at it. Whoosh! Young Master Great Sun thrust out his spear, and the spear light was as dazzling as a blazing sun. When this blazing sun reached its peak, it suddenly burst into blazing flames, and the terrifying heat almost destroyed everything in front of it. Extreme Sun Birth Flame was one of the ultimate moves of the Solar Flame Spear, a mid-grade spiritual martial art. It was an extremely powerful fire element martial art. Young Master Great Sun cultivated a fire element cultivation technique, possessed a fire element celestial body, and was able to use a fire element martial art. Moreover, he had also comprehended the fire element force. The power of this spear attack was unimaginably terrifying. However, a trace of disdain flashed across Yixing's eyes. Among the various elements, the one he was least afraid of was the fire element. Playing with fire in front of him was simply asking for humiliation. Facing young Master Great Sun's spear attack, Yixing didn't dodge or retreat. Instead, he moved forward and reached out his hand to grab young Master Great Sun's Extreme Sun Birth Flame. All the martial artists were stunned. Directly grabbing with his hand? When Yixing blocked young Master Dark Nether's spear attack, he had only used his hand to cut across the side of the spear head. But now, Yixing was directly grabbing the spear head. This really shocked all the martial artists. Could it be that Yixing was going to use his bare hands to fight against young Master Great Sun's mid-grade spiritual spear? This was impossible. No matter how strong one's body was, it couldn't be as tough as a spiritual weapon. If this attack landed, young Master Great Sun's mid-grade spiritual spear would pierce through Yixing's palm like tofu. Unless he was a true master of the astral realm, who could condense his astral energy and turn it into a weapon, then he would be able to block the attack of a mid-grade spiritual weapon. However, this wasn't about the body, but the astral energy. Yixing was only a 7-star martial saint, and it was impossible for him to have astral energy in his body. Therefore, the martial artists couldn't figure out how Yixing was going to block young Master Great Sun's powerful spear attack with his bare hands. The bewilderment in everyone's hearts only lasted for a split second before Yixing's palm collided with the fiery spearhead. At this moment, a shocking scene occurred. The blazing flames at the tip of the spear were actually pushed back by Yixing's palm, and in the blink of an eye, they were sent flying back towards young Master Dao. This attack was simply amazing. Young Master Great Sun was shocked. The fiery spear's counterattack was exactly the same as the strength of his spear attack. The strength of the attack was equal to the strength of the counterattack. Naturally, young Master Great Sun's body paused, and his mid-grade spiritual spear also paused for a moment. As for Yixing's palm grabbed forward, passed over the spear head, and grabbed the spear shaft. The current scene was extremely similar to the battle between Yixing and young Master Dark Nether. With the spear shaft in Yixing's hand, regardless of whether young Master Great Sun stabbed forward or retracted the spear, it didn't move an inch. "Get out of my way!" Yixing shouted loudly, grabbed the mid-grade spiritual spear, and pulled it behind him. Young Master Great Sun couldn't let go of the spear in time, and his body immediately rushed towards Yixing along with the mid-grade spiritual spear. This scene was exactly the same as when Yixing fought with young Master Dark Nether. Young Master Great Sun had just watched the battle between Yixing and young Master Dark Nether. How could he not be aware of the current situation? He was scared out of his wits, and quickly let go of the mid-grade spiritual spear in his hand. However, it was too late. Yixing's legs were so fast that they were without a shadow, and he had already kicked forward repeatedly. This was a low-grade martial skill among ordinary martial skills, shadowless kick. However, the power of the shadowless kick was astonishing, and it kicked the genius young Master Great Sun directly. Puff! Young Master Great Sun spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was kicked away by Yixing, and he let out a shrill scream. Young Master Great Sun flew for more than 10 meters before he fell to the ground. He rolled a few times before his body came to a stop. He struggled for a while, but he couldn't get up, just like young Master Dark Nether. Yixing threw the mid-grade spiritual spear over, and it landed right beside young Master Great Sunday. He said, "It's more than enough to deal with you. I'm not in a good condition today. My head hurts a little, so I won't update today. I'll continue tomorrow. My monthly votes have rushed into the top 6 of the Xuanhuan world. Thank you brothers for your support. Good job. Thank you, and I hope you can keep it up. Also, brothers and sisters, please vote for me for free. Don't waste it." Chapter 323. Ding! The middle-grade spiritual spear was stabbed into the ground beside young Master Dari. The body of the spear trembled and buzzed. Even though the martial artists had expected that Yixing's strength was above young Master Dari's, they were still shocked. Yixing had defeated young Master Dark Nether and young Master Thunderbolt consecutively, but he still had enough strength to defeat young Master Dari in the blink of an eye. This meant that Yixing was still full of energy after 2 battles. Looking at young Master Dari, who had fallen to the ground, the face of the judge of the Sun-Moon sect darkened. He had purposely allowed Yixing to fight 3 consecutive battles in order to exhaust Yixing's strength so that young Master Dari could obtain victory. Who would have thought that this would happen? Among the top 9, 3 of the 5 young masters had already been defeated by Yixing. Didn't this mean that Yixing would definitely enter the top 3? Even if he lost to the Yin Yang Master and Tian Luo Master in the later battles, he would still be ranked 3rd. This was because the other 8-star martial saints were no match for Yixing. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect had proposed the point competition so that the young masters could defeat Yixing and humiliate Yixing. However, the results were out of his expectations. The 3 young masters had been defeated by Yixing and had become Yixing's stepping stones. This time, even if Yixing only ranked 3rd, he would still be the most dazzling cultivator of the competition because the Yin Yang young master was expected to be the champion. However, if Yixing was in the top 3, he would be considered a rising genius and break the record of the 6 southern sects that had existed for hundreds of years. Humph! The judge of the Sun-Moon sect snorted angrily. The judge of the Dark Underworld sect was also unhappy. Yixing's rise did not benefit the Dark Underworld sect at all. As for the judge of the Tian Luo sect, his face was full of smiles. Yixing's performance had made him extremely happy. Yixing was only a 7-star martial sage, but he had defeated 3 8-star martial sages consecutively. His battle prowess was comparable to the Yin-Yang Young Master. Compared to the Yin-Yang Young Master, Yixing was only inferior in terms of cultivation. Although most cultivators did not know what Yixing's heavenly fate was, from the fact that Yixing had become a 7-star martial saint at the age of 17, his heavenly fate should be extremely high. The Yin-Yang Gongzi was a 6-star heavenly fate saint and had become a 7-star martial saint at the age of 20. However, the martial artists of the Falling Star sect knew that Yixing was only an ordinary heaven's mandate. The rise of Yixing's cultivation was attributed to his destiny and lucky chances. The heaven's mandate could not restrict him at all. Of course, Yixing's destiny wasn't as low as the Falling Star sect martial artists knew, nor was it as high as other martial artists guessed. His current destiny was that he had swallowed Sir Watanabe's destiny, a 3-star yellow destiny. The judge of the Tian Luo sect said, "Yixing, you have already fought 3 rounds in a row. Go and rest first." Yixing nodded and returned to the area where the Falling Star sect martial artists were. This time, the judge of the Sun Moon sect had no excuse to keep Yixing from fighting. Moreover, even if he kept Yixing to continue fighting, the other 8-star martial sages would not be able to threaten Yixing. Even if Yixing was defeated by the Yin-Yang Young Master and the Tian Luo Young Master, entering the top 3 would still be a matter of time. Therefore, it was useless to keep Yixing to continue fighting. When the martial artists of the Falling Star sect saw that Yixing had returned, regardless of whether they were seniors or juniors, they were all wild with joy. Yixing had given them too much of a surprise. He had actually defeated 3 young masters in a row and secured a spot in the top 3. This was an honor that the Falling Star sect had never had before. Even though Qi Jingyang and Wu Qinggang were very jealous of Yixing, Yixing had brought honor to the Falling Star sect. As a member of they were also very excited at this moment. Good. 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 Lu Tianyuan patted Yixing's shoulder and praised, "Yixing, you have indeed given us a big surprise. Since the establishment of our sect, no one has ever entered the top 3 in the 10 sects tournament." Good. Good job. We are all proud of you. Our Falling Star sect has never been so proud before. Qi Dosheng, an elder of the War Pavilion, laughed loudly. He looked at Yixing with great admiration and said, "Yixing, you are only 17 years old this year. Whether it is fate or opportunity, this is your ability and the blessing of our Falling Star sect." With that, Qi Dosheng glanced at Qi Jingyang and sighed, "If only I had a son like you." Ah! In his tone, there was a hint of disappointment in his tone. Qi Jingyang immediately lowered his head. The trace of affection that he had for Yixing because of the glory of the Falling Star sect disappeared in an instant and was replaced by an even stronger jealousy. Sect leader Lu, Yixing has secured a spot in the top 3. He has brought honor to our 6 southern sects. Congratulations to the Falling Star sect for having such a talented junior. Leng Xingyue, the sect leader of the Spirit Moon sect, said to Lu Tianyuan with a clasped fist and a look of envy in her eyes. The female disciples of the Spirit Moon sect looked at Yixing with stars in their eyes. Yixing had defeated 3 young masters in a row. This was too shocking for them. The martial artists of the Dongfu sect looked at the excited martial artists of the Falling Star sect. Then, the loser would fight the Yin-Yang Young Master, and finally, the winner would fight the Yin-Yang Young Master. It would be the final battle. After the battle between Yixing and Tian Luo Young Master, the loser would still be able to defeat the Yin-Yang Young Master. The martial artists did not even think about it. After a period of rest, the Thunderbolt Young Master had already recovered to his peak state. When he arrived in front of the Yin-Yang Young Master, his eyes were filled with battle intent. The martial artists' spirits were finally lifted. Since Yixing had defeated the 3 young masters, there would be another duel between young masters. Moreover, one of them was the number 1 junior, the Yin-Yang young master. The Thunderbolt young master said, "Yang Ming, you have always been known as the number 1 junior in the Qingyun region. However, we have never had a real victor. Today, I would like to see how much of your reputation is real and how much of it is fake." The Yin-Yang young master revealed a disdainful expression and said, "You are just a loser who was defeated by a 7-star martial saint. You are not qualified for me to use my full strength. To deal with you, I will use 30% of my strength." 30% of his strength. The Yin-Yang young master said that he only needed to use 30% of his strength to defeat the Thunderbolt young master. "My condition is not good. Let me relax for the next 2 days. Today, I will update twice. I will pay back the overdue updates. There will be more later." Chapter 324. Hiss. When the martial artists heard this, many of them sucked in a breath of cold air. The Thunderbolt young master was the strongest among the young masters in the same realm. He was stronger than the Dark Nether young master and the Great Sun young master. Young Master Tian Luo was stronger than the Thunderbolt young master in the eyes of the martial artists because his cultivation was 1 realm higher than the Thunderbolt young master. It was obvious that the Thunderbolt young master's strength was extraordinary. However, the Yin-Yang young master said that he only needed to use 30% of his strength to defeat the Thunderbolt young master. How strong was the Yin-Yang young master? No one thought that the Yin-Yang young master was boasting. They were just shocked by his strength. Yixing squinted his eyes. He could feel that the Yin-Yang young master was very strong. It seemed that the Yin-Yang young master did not show his true strength when he fought with the Thunderbolt young master for the upper-grade glove in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. The reason why he was only slightly stronger than the Thunderbolt young master was because he thought that was enough. Indeed, if Yixing did not snatch the food from the tiger's mouth, the Yin-Yang young master would be able to force the Thunderbolt young master to retreat and snatch the upper-grade glove even though he was only slightly stronger than the Thunderbolt young master. Who would have thought that someone would come out of nowhere and Yixing would snatch the superior-grade glove from the tiger's mouth in the end? Although the Thunderbolt young master was not as arrogant as the Dark Nether young master, he was arrogant. His strength was stronger than other young masters in the same realm. He had always wanted to challenge the Yin-Yang young master. Now, the Yin-Yang young master's words were filled with disdain. This made the Thunderbolt young master's face turn green. Flames of anger burned in his eyes. The Thunderbolt young master said, "Yang Ming, don't talk nonsense. When I fought with you in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land, you were only slightly stronger than me. I did not use my full strength then. You want to defeat me with 30% of your strength? Humph, that is a fool's dream." The Yin-Yang young master released a terrifying aura and said, "You will know if you try." A ray of starlight shot out from the Thunderbolt young master's glabella and turned into a Thunderbolt star. It floated in the air and the Thunderbolt star energy fell. The Thunderbolt young master was bathed in the lightning and his aura surged. The Thunderbolt young master shouted, "I want to see how strong you are. How dare you speak such big words? Take my move, Thunderbolt Break." The thunderous young master struck out with his palm. In an instant, his entire body charged towards the Yin-Yang young master. Boom! There was an explosion in the void as young Master Thunderbolt turned into a bolt of lightning. The lightning in front of him was condensed by a powerful bolt of lightning. It was exceptionally resplendent as it broke through the layers of airflow, forming a terrifying shockwave. Everyone's eyes were focused on this moment. The Thunderbolt young master unleashed his strongest attack. However, Yixing countered the Thunderbolt young master's attack and defeated him in a single move. Everyone wanted to know how the Yin-Yang young master would deal with the Thunderbolt young master's attack. Would he be like Yixing, retreating and temporarily avoiding the attack? Would he counterattack when the Thunderbolt young master's attack weakened? The answer was instantly revealed. The Yin-Yang young master did not retreat. Instead, he charged forward and faced the Thunder Young Master's thunder light break. Whoosh! The void in front of him shattered instantly as an extremely resplendent ray of light shot forward like a blazing sun. Middle-class spiritual martial art, Scorching Sun Finger. The Yin-Yang Young Master's Scorching Sun Finger was extremely advanced. It was far beyond the great accomplishment stage and was almost close to the perfect stage. The intensity of the ray of light was like a real blazing sun, causing people to be intimidated. Moreover, this finger contained an extremely powerful fire force that was almost close to the intricate stage. It caused the power of this finger to multiply. Yi Xing was startled. He would not be able to block the Yin-Yang Young Master's finger with just his physical strength. It was too terrifying. Bang! The bolt of lightning and the finger ray collided with each other and produced an explosive sound. Terrifying airflow surged in all directions. Lightning splashed and rays of light shot in all directions. The Yin-Yang Young Master and the Thunderbolt Young Master's strength were determined at this moment. The Scorching Sun Finger was extremely resplendent and unstoppable. It scattered the lightning in all directions. The Thunderbolt Young Master's body shook violently and flew backwards. The Thunderbolt Young Master fell to the ground and a trace of blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with astonishment. He could not believe that the Yin-Yang Young Master had defeated him with one finger when his thunder light break was at its strongest. The Yin-Yang Young Master looked at the Thunderbolt Young Master on the ground and finally revealed a proud expression. He said, "This is your strongest move? You can't even withstand a single blow." The surroundings were silent. The Yin-Yang Young Master was too powerful. Yi Xing had defeated the Thunderbolt Young Master and even avoided the moment when the Thunderbolt Young Master's move was at its strongest. However, the Yin-Yang Young Master had defeated the Thunderbolt Young Master with one finger when the Thunderbolt Young Master's move was at its strongest. Comparing the two, the Yin-Yang Young Master defeating the Thunderbolt Young Master was undoubtedly more shocking. Moreover, the Yin-Yang Young Master had said that he only needed 30% of his strength to defeat the Thunderbolt Young Master. Did this not mean that the Yin-Yang Young Master had only used 30% of his strength? The martial artists were shocked. Even the senior perfected persons revealed shocked expressions. If the Yin-Yang Young Master unleashed his full strength, how powerful would he be? Many senior perfected persons judged that the Yin-Yang Young Master's strength had already surpassed a 9-star martial sage and could compete with a half-step perfected persons. The Thunderbolt Young Master clenched his fists tightly. His face was filled with disbelief as he said, "I don't believe that you only used 30% of your strength." The Yin-Yang Young Master chuckled and said, "It's up to you to believe it or not. Do I need to prove it to you? Which junior martial artist is qualified to make me use my full strength?" The junior martial artists were all silent. The Yin-Yang Young Master's words were looking down on the Tian Luo Young Master. Regardless of whether it was the Tian Luo sect or the Green Thunder sect, the martial artists of the two sects did not look good. As for the martial artists of the Sun Moon sect, their faces were filled with smiles. They were very happy. The judge of the Sun Moon sect said, "Thunderbolt Young Master, you have lost. You may leave." Next, Young Master Dali. Young Master Dali and the Yin-Yang Young Master were both disciples of the Sun Moon sect. One was the second disciple, while the other was the first disciple. It was obvious that the outcome of the battle between the two had been decided long ago. The judge of the Sun Moon sect had allowed Young Master Dali to fight so that he could add points to the Yin-Yang Young Master. As expected, Young Master Dali did not step forward. Instead, he admitted defeat. "I am not a match for eldest senior brother. I admit defeat." The judge of the Sun Moon sect smiled and said, "The Yin-Yang Young Master has won 5 rounds in a row. He has accumulated 5 points and is ranked first. You may go and rest." Yi Xing had 4 points, while the Yin-Yang Young Master had 5 points. It seemed that the judge of the Sun-Moon sect did not want to let Yi Xing maintain his temporary first place. The Yin-Yang young master and the Thunderbolt young master both left the stage. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect said, "Young master Tian Luo, you may come up." The martial artist's eyes lit up. Another heavyweight was coming up. Although the Yin-Yang young master had said that none of the junior martial artists could force him to use his full strength, the crowd was still very interested in the battle between the two young masters. Now that young master Tian Luo had entered the stage, they could finally see his strength. In the first 3 rounds of battle, young master Tian Luo's targets were Lei Yun, Ming Shuang, and Luo Ying, the 3 8-star martial saints. Naturally, the 3 of them admitted defeat. Their strength could not be compared to young master Tian Luo's. In the blink of an eye, young master Tian Luo had won 3 rounds in a row. Since young master Tian Luo had not made a move, he naturally would not be allowed to leave the stage. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect quickly arranged his 4th opponent. He looked towards the Falling Star sect and said, "Next, Yi Xing." The martial artist's spirits were lifted. The battle between Yi Xing and young master Tian Luo was coming up so soon. Young master Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint. His cultivation was higher than the other young masters. Naturally, his strength was also higher. He was the 2nd strongest among the young masters. Yi Xing was a 7-star martial saint. He had a heaven-defying battle record of defeating 3 young masters consecutively. His strength was ranked at the top among the young masters. He could definitely compete with young master Tian Luo. Then, between Yi Xing and young master Tian Luo, who was stronger? Many martial artists were looking forward to the result of this battle. This was because the winner of the 2 would fight the Yin-Yang young master in the final battle to determine the 1st and 2nd place. Under the gaze of the crowd, Yi Xing walked out and stood in front of young master Tian Luo. "I'm a little tired. Brothers, please give me strength. I beg for monthly votes and recommendation votes." Chapter 325. Young master Tian Luo quietly observed Yi Xing. After a long while, he said, "I didn't expect to have a duel with you so soon. But it's fine. Anyway, we'll have to fight each other. It doesn't matter if it's earlier or later. We'll have to decide the winner." As Sir Tian Luo spoke, a shining spirit weapon appeared in his hand. This was a medium-grade spirit weapon. Of the 6 great young masters, Sir Tian Luo was the only one who hadn't had any conflicts with Yi Xing. Moreover, Sir Tian Luo had spoken out to help the disciples of Thi, so Yi Xing had a good impression of him. Yi Xing faintly smiled. "I ask Sir Tian Luo to give me some pointers." Sir Tian Luo lifted the sword in his hand and said, "This sword is called Cold Star. It is a peak medium-grade spirit weapon and is incomparably sharp. Yi Xing, your bare hands cannot block my sword. Take out the high-grade spirit weapon gloves you obtained in the Blue Cloud Ancient Land and put them on." Yi Xing nodded. He took out the blazing flame gloves and put them on. Yi Xing had obtained 2 high-grade spirit weapons in the Blue Cloud Ancient Land. One was the blazing flame gloves and the other was the Black Dragon Spear. Seeing the blazing flame gloves in Yi Xing's hands, the surrounding martial artists, whether they were seniors or juniors, all revealed looks of envy. Some of them even had greedy eyes. A high-grade spirit weapon was an extraordinary treasure in the Blue Cloud region. Even for Astral Realm martial artists, 70 to 80% of them didn't have a high-grade spirit weapon, they only used medium-grade spirit weapons. But Yi Xing was only a 7-star martial saint and yet he had a high-grade spirit weapon in his hands. How could the surrounding martial artists not be envious? Whether it was the blazing flame gloves or the Black Dragon Spear, both were treasures that aroused the greed of others in the Blue Cloud region. If no one knew that the blazing flame gloves and the Black Dragon Spear were in Yi Xing's hands, then Yi Xing wouldn't have shown them in public. However, Yi Xing had obtained the blazing flame gloves and black dragon spear from the hands of the several young masters. Most of the junior martial artists that entered the Blue Cloud ancient land had seen this with their own eyes and had already reported this news to their sect elders. Yi Xing wouldn't be able to conceal it even if he wanted to. Since everyone knew that Yi Xing had the blazing flame gloves and the black dragon spear, these two high-grade spirit weapons, then, there was no need for Yi Xing to hide them. Sir Tian Luo was different from the other young masters. Yi Xing didn't want to fight him with his bare hands. Wearing the blazing flame gloves, Yi Xing could even face the attack of a high-grade spirit weapon head-on. After Yi Xing put on the gloves, he lifted his hands and said, "The blazing flame gloves are a high-grade spirit weapon. I obtained them from the Blue Cloud ancient land and this is my first time using them. Your Cold Star sword is only a medium-grade spirit weapon. In terms of weapons, I have the advantage." Sir Tian Luo chuckled and said, "A spirit weapon can only increase the power of star essence, it cannot increase the strength of the mortal body. Even if it is a high-grade spirit weapon, the most it can do is protect your hands from being injured by my Cold Star sword. With the strength of your mortal body, you are not my match." Yi Xing smiled slowly and said, "Why don't you give it a try?" Sir Tian Luo nodded, "Good. Then I'll let you experience my Tian Luo sect's medium-grade spirit weapon, the Star Luo sword." Whoosh! As Sir Tian Luo's voice fell, the Cold Star sword erupted with a dazzling light as it thrust towards Yi Xing. In that instant, sword light shot out like a cold star, rushing towards Yi Xing. This sword contained a terrifying sharpness. As this sword thrust forwards, Yi Xing felt an endless sharpness, as if his body would be cut to pieces by this sword. Heavenly Bat Steps. Yi Xing moved his feet and performed the Heavenly Bat Steps, which contained the wind force of the Minute Realm. His speed was so fast that it was as if he had teleported, dodging this terrifying sword. Dodging? Sir Tian Luo instantly changed his sword move. His entire body turned into a sword light as he charged towards Yi Xing again. Tyrant Dragon Fist. Yi Xing's momentum had accumulated to the extreme. Facing this sword, he no longer dodged, but punched out. Boom! The airflow in front of him exploded with a terrifying explosion. The airflow instantly formed a visible shockwave that blasted towards Sir Tian Luo. In an instant, the shockwave collided with the sword light. Sir Tian Luo's sword light contained a terrifying sharpness. It was incomparably sharp and actually cut the airflow shockwave in half. Clang! First, the sword light collided with Yi Xing's fist. Then, the Cold Star sword pierced forward. The two spiritual weapons fiercely clashed together. The terrifying collision formed a terrifying shockwave that spread out in all directions. The Cold Star sword was bent by Yi Xing's punch. However, the power of the Cold Star sword was even more powerful. Visible to the naked eye, the power from the tip of the sword struck towards Yi Xing layer after layer. Yi Xing continuously retreated. Dong dong dong, Yi Xing retreated 7 to 8 steps before stabilizing his body. In this 10 sects tournament, this was the first time Yi Xing was forced to retreat. Although Yi Xing also retreated during the battle with Sir Thunder, it was a tactical retreat. It was different from being forced back by the opponent. The crowd was stunned. Yi Xing's physical strength was finally suppressed by Sir Tian Luo. It seemed that Yi Xing was unable to defeat Sir Tian Luo and could only be ranked third. Of course, even if Yi Xing lost to Sir Tian Luo and was ranked third, he would still be the most glorious person in this 10 sects tournament. His achievements would shock everyone. Sir Tian Luo felt the rebounding force from the Cold Star sword and the buzzing sound from the sword. He was shocked by the terrifying power of Yi Xing's punch. However, no matter what, Yi Xing's strength was still inferior to his. Sir Tian Luo's face revealed a victorious smile. This was the result he could accept. He was a 9-star martial saint. His cultivation was one realm higher than the other young masters. If he was defeated by Yixing, then other than the Yin-Yang young master, Yixing would trample all the other young masters. Although Sir Tian Luo had no grudges with Yixing and they were on the same side, as a young master, he did not want to become Yixing's stepping stone. Young Master Tian Luo smiled and said, "Yixing, your physical strength is indeed very strong, but you're not my match. There's no need to continue this battle, you're bound to lose." Yixing also smiled and said, "That is not necessarily true. Who said that my strength only comes from my physical strength? Until now, I have not used my celestial essence or spiritual martial force." The crowd was shocked. Listening to Yixing's tone, his celestial essence strength seemed to be even stronger. Didn't that mean that the result of the battle between Yixing and Sir Tian Luo would be confusing? Who was stronger and who was weaker between the two? In the hearts of the crowd, they still favored Sir Tian Luo. Sir Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint, 2 realms higher than Yixing. Moreover, he was a young master genius who could challenge people with higher realms. Although Sir Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint and could not challenge half-step Taoist masters, his strength was definitely at the top of the 9-star martial saints and could be called invincible. Most of the cultivators did not believe that Yixing could be Sir Tian Luo's opponent. Yixing's physical strength was so terrifying that it shocked the crowd. They attributed it to a fortuitous encounter. If Yixing's celestial essence strength was stronger than his physical strength, then it would be too abnormal. However, many people from the Falling Star sect and the Spirit Moon sect were looking forward to it. They all knew that Yixing could challenge people with higher realms. In the past, when his physical strength was not strong, Yixing could still fight people with higher realms with his celestial essence strength. But now? They could feel the confidence in Yixing's words and felt that it was very possible. Sir Tian Luo pointed his sword at Yixing. His aura was incomparably sharp. An illusory chi sword appeared in the sky and pierced the sky. Yixing's words made Sir Tian Luo frown slightly. He said, "You mean, your celestial essence strength is stronger than your physical strength?" Yixing nodded, "Of course." While speaking, Yixing's aura soared, and the surrounding air currents shook. The temperature around Yixing suddenly rose. Yixing's body exuded a terrifying flame power. His body emitted an illusory flame that distorted the air. The crowd of cultivators was shocked. What a terrifying flame power! Sir Tian Luo stared at Yixing. His sword momentum became stronger and stronger. He said loudly, "You are a 7-star martial saint and have the strength to defeat most 9-star martial saints. This is already the limit. Can your celestial essence strength be stronger than your physical strength? I don't believe it. I don't believe it." These 3 words reverberated in the void. As Sir Tian Luo's voice fell, a bright sword light instantly cut through the void. Sir Tian Luo had launched his strongest attack. Chapter 326. The spectators' hearts suddenly tightened. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared intently at young Master Tian Luo's sword. Young Master Tian Luo had already gone all out. Although he did not use his celestial image, he had already erupted with his strongest strength. Compared to his previous attack, its power had doubled. Before, Yixing was only pushed back by young Master Tian Luo. Now that young Master Tian Luo had gone all out, would Yixing be able to block his sword? Everyone wanted to know the answer. They knew that victory or defeat would be decided in an instant. In the hearts of most of the spectators, they were optimistic about young Master Tian Luo. They believed that even if Yixing used his celestial essence, it would be impossible for him to block this sword. The sword light was resplendent as it broke through the air. An incomparably sharp aura locked onto Yixing. Yixing's perception of this sword was 1,000 times, no, 10,000 times clearer than the other spectators. He could feel the power of this sword more than anyone else. However, Yixing's face showed no fear. His posture was like a mountain as the power of fire increased once again. The flames of nothingness around his body instantly became fierce. Ha! Yi Xing shouted. He did not retreat half a step. His right hand formed a fist and met young Master Tianluo's sword with a fierce attack. Boom! The void exploded, shaking the heavens and the earth. With this punch, the celestial essence in Yi Xing's body instantly transformed into fire celestial essence. It condensed in front of the fist and turned into a huge flaming fist. This flaming fist did not look much bigger than Yi Xing's fist. However, it revealed a terrifying aura as if it contained an extremely terrifying power. Among the spectators, the junior martial sages did not feel anything. However, the senior perfected persons were all startled and shocked. Yi Xing's fist did not condense fist radiance, but fist aura. Astral aura was a grade higher than celestial essence. There was an essential difference between the two, just like the difference between celestial essence and ordinary internal qi. The realm of enlightened masters was called the astral star realm. From this, it could be seen that only after becoming an enlightened master could one condense astral star. In the half-step enlightened master realm, the celestial origin in the body could only transform half of it into astral star. In other words, if a martial artist wanted to cultivate astral energy, they had to be at least a half-step Taoist master. However, Yi Xing was only a 7-star martial saint. His fist actually contained astral energy. Although the fist aura wasn't very strong and didn't seem to be condensed from celestial essence and couldn't be compared to an enlightened being's astral essence, the enlightened being seniors could tell that the strength of Yi Xing's fist aura was comparable to a half-step enlightened being's astral essence. A 7-star martial sage's attack had actually condensed astral energy. This was simply shocking. There was only one explanation for this. That was, Yi Xing had cultivated an upper-level spiritual martial force. An upper-level spiritual martial force required astral energy to be used. It was a powerful martial art that only enlightened beings could cultivate. However, astral energy wasn't the only requirement to use an upper-level spiritual martial force. If one had enough talent in martial arts and had cultivated an upper-level spiritual martial force before becoming an enlightened being, then when using martial arts, the upper-level spiritual martial force would condense the celestial origin in the body into astral energy. Yi Xing's fist art was the flaming astral fist, which was an upper-level spiritual martial force. His grand momentum of fire was subtle and he had the star fire seed in his body. When he cultivated the flaming astral fist in the Yama fire sea, it was twice the result with half the effort. That was how he succeeded in cultivating the flaming astral fist. At this moment, when he used it, the celestial origin condensed into astral energy, almost like an attack from a half-step enlightened being. Boom, the sword light and the fist aura collided with each other, creating a loud sound. The result was obvious. Yi Xing's fist aura had the upper hand in the battle. In an instant, the sword light was destroyed and the unstoppable fist landed on the cold star sword in young Master Tianluo's hand. The cold star sword made a crisp sound and was instantly bent into a half-moon shape. Young Master Tianluo's eyes were filled with shock. His body flew backward as if he was being attacked by several fierce horses. Exclamations were heard everywhere. No one had expected that Yi Xing's celestial origin strength was far superior to those of the same level. He could challenge those of a higher level. Compared to the strength of his body, it was only stronger. Young Master Tianluo was a dignified 9-star martial saint and one of the geniuses. Although he kept a low profile, he didn't pay much attention to opponents other than the Yinyang young master. However, he was sent flying by Yi Xing's fist. It was really unexpected. Young Master Tianluo retreated dozens of meters and landed on the ground. He took a few steps back before stopping. He looked at Yi Xing with a horrified expression and said in shock, "Upper-grade spiritual martial art, Flame Aura Fist. You have cultivated the Flame Aura Fist so quickly? Yixing had obtained the secret manual of the flaming astral fist in the azure cloud ancient land. In such a short time, Yixing had actually managed to cultivate the flaming astral fist. Young Master Tian Luo was truly shocked, and his voice was trembling. As a genius, young Master Tian Luo knew how difficult it was to cultivate a upper-grade spiritual martial art. Tian Luo sect had several upper-grade spiritual martial arts. With young Master Tian Luo's status, he was qualified to learn upper-grade spiritual martial arts. However, he had not learned any of them. Only when one became a half-step enlightened being and the celestial origin in the body began to transform into star aura, the difficulty of cultivating a upper-grade spiritual martial art would be reduced. Before becoming a half-step enlightened being, even a genius would find it difficult to cultivate a upper-grade spiritual martial art. Right now, Yixing was only a 7-star martial saint. He was still very far away from becoming a half-step enlightened being. However, he had cultivated the upper-grade spiritual martial art, Flame Aura Fist. This had caused a great impact on young Master Tian Luo. This kind of martial talent was simply heaven-defying. Comparing the two, young Master Tian Luo doubted whether he was a genius or not. Compared to Yixing's martial talent and heaven-defying fighting strength, young Master Tian Luo felt ashamed. Young Master Tian Luo laughed at himself and said, "Yixing, I have lost this battle. I have to admit that you are the most monstrous genius I have ever seen in my life. I am deeply impressed." Yixing cupped his fists and said, "Many thanks, young Master Tian Luo, for letting me win." In this battle, Yixing won and obtained another point. His total points were 5, tied with the Yinyang young master for first place. When the surrounding martial artists saw that young Master Tian Luo had directly admitted defeat, they were all shocked. Although Yixing had used Flame Aura Fist to force young Master Tian Luo back, young Master Tian Luo had yet to use astrology. In the eyes of the martial artists, even if Yixing's martial talent was heaven-defying and he had cultivated the upper-grade spiritual martial art, Flame Aura Fist, his attainment in astrology was not profound. Therefore, if young Master Tian Luo had used astrology, he might not have lost to Yixing. The outcome of this battle was related to the second and third place. It was the difference between a reward of 100,000 low-grade star crystals and a reward of 200,000 low-grade star crystals. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, young Master Tian Luo returned to the Tian Luo sect martial artists. An enlightened being elder of the Tian Luo sect said with dissatisfaction, "Luo Lai, this battle is related to the ranking and the reward. You did not use your full strength, why did you admit defeat so quickly? Even if Yixing's martial talent is monstrous and his combat power is shocking, he might not be your opponent now." Young Master Tian Luo stood beside the Tian Luo sect master and said, "Elder Ling Jun, you don't understand Yixing. Until the last moment, you will never know his trump card." Yixing also did not use astrology. Therefore, even if I used astrology, the chances of winning against him would be very slim. In my opinion, Yixing is more terrifying than the Yinyang young master. More terrifying than the Yinyang young master? Everyone in the Tian Luo sect, regardless of whether they were elders or juniors, were surprised when they heard young Master Tian Luo's evaluation of Yixing. Was Yixing really more terrifying than the Yinyang young master? Although most of them did not think so, it was undeniable that Yixing was really powerful. They wanted to know who was stronger between Yixing and the Yinyang young master. They were looking forward to the moment when Yixing and the Yinyang young master fought. Young Master Tian Luo's admission of defeat was beyond the expectations of the Sun Moon sect's judge, and it made him a little unhappy. He wanted to see Yixing and young Master Tian Luo use astrology to fight to the death, but the result was disappointing. Now that Yixing was standing in the middle of the arena, it was necessary to arrange for Yixing to enter the next battle. However, other than the Yinyang young master, who else could be a match for Yixing? The battle between Yixing and the Yinyang young master would definitely be the final battle of the 10 Sects Grand Tournament. It was impossible to arrange for the two to fight now. Therefore, the next few battles could only allow Yi Xing to increase his points. Yi Xing's points were now 5, the same as the Yin-Yang young master. If he increased his points, he would temporarily maintain the first place. This made the Sun-Moon sect's judge very unhappy. Although he was unhappy, the 10 sects grand tournament still had to continue. Other than the Yin-Yang young master, Yi Xing's only opponents were Lei Yun and Ming Shuang. Obviously, the two of them had admitted defeat. Yi Xing's points rose to 7, temporarily occupying the first place, and he left the arena to rest. ______ I had a friend visit yesterday, so I went out to entertain and only returned home at 1:00 in the evening. I owe a chapter. Sorry, I will make it up today. Chapter 327. After Yi Xing left the stage, it was the other young master's turn to fight. The 3 ordinary 8-star martial sages admitted defeat in front of the young master's geniuses. The Thunderbolt young master's strength was indeed superior to the other young masters at the same level. He had defeated the Dark Nether young master and the Great Sun young master consecutively. After young master Thunder left the stage to rest, young master Tian Luo went up again. His opponents were young master Dark Nether and young master Great Sun. Facing the two young masters, young master Tian Luo displayed a shocking strength. One sword strike. Whether it was young master Dark Nether, young master Great Sun, or young master Tian Luo, all of them only used one sword. After young master Tian Luo and Yi Xing's battle, young master Tian Luo had been defeated by Yi Xing and had even admitted defeat. This had caused young master Tian Luo's status in the hearts of many martial artists to drop by a lot. However, no one dared to underestimate the strength that young master Tian Luo had revealed in front of the other young masters. After breaking through to the 9-star martial saint realm, there was indeed a world of difference between his strength and the other young masters. From this, it could be seen that Yi Xing was able to repel Tian Luo and force him to admit defeat. His strength was indeed terrifying. Tian Luo young master defeated 2 young masters in a row and went down to rest. Next up was Yin Yang young master and Dark Nether young master. The Yin Yang young master's strength was needless to say. Even if the Dark Nether young master used his astrology, the Yin Yang young master only needed 1 finger to defeat him. The grand competition was nearing its end. Only Yi Xing and Yin Yang young master and Tian Luo young master and Thunderbolt young master. The heavyweight battles were always at the end. Yin Yang young master went down to rest. The last 3 battles were between Tian Luo young master and Thunder young master. The Thunderclap young master had a very powerful thunder celestial essence. Among the young master geniuses with the same cultivation, he was the strongest. Young master Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint. Among the young masters, his cultivation was the highest. He was 1 level higher than young master Lei Ting. His strength was even more terrifying. All the warriors knew that young master Tian Luo was stronger. However, they also wanted to know how strong young master Lei Ting was. How much was the difference between them? This was because, regardless of whether it was the battle with Yi Xing or the Yin Yang young master, the Thunder young master had always been defeated in 1 move, making it impossible for others to determine the limits of his strength. Young master Tian Luo and young master Lei Ting faced each other from afar. The Thunderbolt young master had a serious expression and was on high alert. After being defeated by Yi Xing and the Yin Yang young master in 1 move, he swore in his heart that it would never happen a 3rd time. Whoosh! A beam of starlight shot out from young master Thunderclap's glabella and transformed into a lightning star. From the very beginning, Thunderbolt young master had used his astrology to raise his strength to the peak. His 2 palms were filled with electricity, and he was about to launch a thunderous attack on young master Tian Luo. Young master Tian Luo raised his hand and the cold star sword appeared in his hand. A terrifying sharp chi burst out from his body. His eyes were like swords as they locked onto young Master Thunder. Thunder, light, break. The thunderbolt young master's aura had finally reached its peak. With a loud shout, he attacked the Tian Luo young master with his palm. He wore a pair of middle-grade spiritual weapon gloves on his hands, so he was not afraid of confronting Tian Luo's cold star sword head-on. At this moment, the gazes of the spectating cultivators were focused to the extreme. They stared at the field, unwilling to even blink. Young Master Thunderbolt's first move was a thunderous attack. When he fought with others, it was usually a single move. The Thunder Light Break was the ultimate move of the Thunder Rush Palm. Young Master Thunderbolt had used this ultimate move against Yi Xing and the Yin Yang Young Master, but he was defeated by Yi Xing and the Yin Yang Young Master in a single move. Now, how would young Master Tian Luo deal with young Master Thunderbolt's move? Would young Master Tian Luo and young Master Thunderbolt also be defeated in a single move? Would young Master Tian Luo be able to defeat young Master Thunderbolt in a single move? Everyone stared intently, wanting to know the answer. When young Master Thunderbolt used the Thunder Light Break to attack, young Master Tian Luo's entire body burst out with dazzling light. The sharp aura cut through the void like a sharp sword. Whoosh! Young Master Tian Luo took a step forward and sword light burst out. His body was like a sword light as he shot into the distance. With a step forward, his body was like a sword. With a flash of sword light, he switched positions. All the spectating cultivators' eyes lit up. It was sword steps. A powerful footwork of a swordsman. Only an outstanding swordsman could comprehend it, and its speed was extremely fast. Young Master Thunderbolt's Thunder Light Break was also very fast. However, it was a straight-line speed. Once the attack was launched, it was difficult to change its direction. Therefore, young Master Tian Luo took a step forward and switched positions instantly. Young Master Thunderbolt's palm naturally hit the air. Boom! With a loud explosion, the void in front of them exploded. If it wasn't for the remaining array of the Azure Cloud sect, there would have been a huge hole in the ground. Unfortunately, such a terrifying attack didn't even touch the corner of young Master Tian Luo's clothes. Young Master Thunderbolt's fist hit the air. He felt like an angry bull facing the empty void. He had strength but no place to use it. He was extremely depressed. His aura surged and his eyes were sharp. He searched for young Master Tian Luo's figure and prepared for the next thunderous attack. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, young Master Tian Luo's speed was extremely fast. Every step he took, there was a flash of sword light. He instantly switched positions and stopped at different places. Young Master Thunderbolt's head turned back and forth, but he couldn't lock onto young Master Tian Luo's position. Since he couldn't lock onto young Master Tian Luo's figure, he didn't have a target to attack. The thunderous attack that he prepared couldn't be launched. Even if it was launched, it could only hit the air. It was like punching cotton. Young Master Tian Luo continued to switch positions. The surging power that young Master Thunderbolt had accumulated decreased again and again. When young Master Thunderbolt's power decreased to a certain extent, young Master Tian Luo suddenly attacked young Master Thunderbolt with his sword. Whoosh! The sword light split the air. The void was like a mirror that was cut in half. The sword light flashed, and in the blink of an eye, a resplendent sword light had already arrived beside young Master Thunderbolt. Young Master Tian Luo didn't attack. Once he attacked, his power was like thunder and lightning. Although young Master Thunderbolt's power was formidable, his attack speed was also very fast. However, his reaction speed was his weak point. Young Master Tian Luo suddenly attacked while he was switching positions. The speed of the sword almost exceeded young Master Thunderbolt's reaction speed. Young Master Thunderbolt suddenly felt a sharp aura and felt a chill on his back. He didn't have time to push his thunder and lightning celestial essence to the strongest realm. He could only hurriedly cast the rushing thunder palm and shot it towards young Master Tian Luo. Boom! Since it was a hasty palm attack, the power of the rushing thunder palm at the grand completion realm was extraordinary. A loud explosion resounded in the void. However, young Master Tian Luo's sword was too sharp and terrifying. The sword light broke through the void and the rushing thunder palm split in half. In an instant, the protective celestial essence around young Master Thunderbolt's body was also torn apart by the sword light. Puff! Young Master Thunderbolt spat out a mouthful of blood and suddenly retreated before falling to the ground. That sharp sword light rushed into his body, like numerous tiny sharp swords rampaging through his meridians, flesh, and blood, causing him a burst of intense pain. For a while, young Master Thunderbolt couldn't operate his thunder and lightning celestial essence at all. Young Master Tian Luo's sword light flashed and appeared beside young Master Thunderbolt. The cold star sword turned into a cold light and pointed at young Master Thunderbolt's throat. Young Master Thunderbolt, defeated. The spectating martial artists breathed out a long sigh of relief. Young Master Tian Luo defeated young Master Thunderbolt with only one sword move. Of course, it couldn't be considered as defeating young Master Thunderbolt in one move. Young Master Tian Luo used the speed of his sword steps to dodge young Master Thunderbolt's strongest attack. Then, he slowed down young Master Thunderbolt's momentum and used his extreme speed to attack young Master Thunderbolt's sword move. This could only be regarded as using his own strength to defeat young Master Thunderbolt with minimal effort. Otherwise, young Master Tian Luo might not have defeated young Master Thunderbolt in one sword move. Yixing, young Master Tian Luo, and Yin Yang young Master all defeated young Master Thunderbolt with just one move. However, in the hearts of the martial artists, Yin Yang young Master defeated young Master Thunderbolt with just one finger when he was at his strongest. It was the most shocking and showed the strongest strength. Yixing retreated first and then defeated young Master Tian Luo head-on, second only to Yin Yang young Master. Young Master Tian Luo dodged many times, but he was second. After the battle ended, the spirit of the martial artists became even more uplifted. The next battle would be between young Master Tian Luo and Yin Yang young Master. Today's second watch is here. It's too late to finish the third watch. Sorry, yesterday's episode will be added to the total. I owe a total of 50 chapters. Tomorrow, I will work hard. It's a day of passion. Although I haven't updated well in the past 2 days, brothers, can you give me a free recommendation ticket? Today is Monday. The Archer God can't even appear on the recommendation list. He has already dropped to the bottom. Please give me a recommendation ticket. Chapter 328. After a short rest, young Master Tian Luo restored his celestial essence to its peak state. The Yin Yang young Master entered the arena, and a new fierce battle was about to begin. Young Master Tian Luo was at a disadvantage in the battle against Yixing, so he admitted defeat immediately. This made the crowd feel regretful that they didn't get to see the battle between the two of them with their full strength. This time, young Master Tian Luo had no reason to admit defeat. Hence, it would be a brutal battle with young Master Yin Yang. Although Tian Luo Prince's method of defeating Thunder Prince wasn't as shocking as Yin Yang Prince's, it still displayed a terrifying strength. If Tian Luo young Master unleashed his full power, Yin Yang young Master wouldn't be so easy to deal with. It would be an exciting and intense battle. Young Master Tian Luo stood up with the cold star sword in his hand. His sword aura soared to the sky. His expression was solemn, and his eyes were as sharp as swords, locking onto young Master Yin Yang. The Yin Yang young Master wore a pair of middle spiritual martial gloves. However, unlike most pairs of gloves, these two gloves had different colors. One was scarlet red and had a fiery aura, while the other was frosty white and had a frosty aura. This pair of gloves was very famous in the Qingyun area. They were known as the Ice-Fire gloves. The Yin Yang young master possessed the astrology of the same origin as fire and water. The inheritance and martial arts he cultivated also contained the two attributes of water and fire. The Ice-Fire gloves in his hands were almost as powerful as a high-grade spirit weapon. Yin Yang young master looked at young master Tian Luo with an indifferent expression. He was much more relaxed than young master Tian Luo. There was a hint of arrogance in his eyes. Apparently, he didn't consider young master Tian Luo a strong opponent. The Yin Yang young master said, "Luo Lai, before me, you should use your astrology first. You can only fight me with your full strength." Tian Luo's eyes narrowed as he said, "If you don't use your astrology, don't even think about forcing me to use my astrology." Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Tian Luo took a step forward and disappeared with a flash of sword light. Tian Luo displayed his sword steps. In the blink of an eye, he changed his position, moving so fast that it was almost invisible. Aside from Yixing, none of the junior martial sages watching the battle could see young master Tian Luo's figure clearly. Whoosh! 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 Tian Luo young master moved to different positions and attacked Yin Yang young master 3 times. Young master Tian Luo waved his sword and retreated. He didn't follow up to attack. Instead, he sent out 3 streaks of sword light that traveled dozens of meters towards young master Yin Yang. Because young master Tian Luo changed his position too quickly, the 3 sword lights appeared almost at the same time even though they attacked at different times. They tore through the void and attacked young master Yin Yang from different directions. Facing Tian Luo young master's sword attack, Yin Yang young master remained calm. He didn't even bat an eyelid as he waved his hand 3 times. 3 finger glows were fired instantly, shattering the 3 sword glows into pieces. Young master Tian Luo had expected that the 3 sword lights would not be able to threaten young master Yin Yang. Therefore, he did not attack him directly. Instead, he sent out sword lights from afar to harass young master Yin Yang. Young master Tian Luo knew that he would be at a disadvantage if he fought against Yin Yang young master head-on, so he used his advantage to confuse Yin Yang young master with his sword steps. However, Yin Yang young master's reaction speed was much faster than young master Lei Ting's. Young master Tian Luo didn't dare to attack recklessly. Instead, he harassed Yin Yang young master first. When Yin Yang young master treated his attack as a form of harassment, young master Tian Luo would attack with all his strength at a certain moment. However, young master Tian Luo couldn't complete his plan. When Yin Yang young master shattered young master Tian Luo's sword light for the second time, his body suddenly turned into a phantom and shot towards a certain direction. Whoosh! Yin Yang young master pointed his finger. A dazzling light that was as dazzling as the scorching sun contained a terrifying power. Young master Tian Luo used his sword steps to change his position. However, this time, young master Tian Luo changed his position to Yin Yang young master's attack position. Yin Yang young master's attack speed was too fast. The finger light arrived almost at the same time as young master Tian Luo's figure. No matter how fast young master Tian Luo's sword steps were, he couldn't avoid the attack. Young master Tian Luo wanted to attack Yin Yang young master at a certain moment. However, he didn't expect Yin Yang young master to attack him first. Since he couldn't dodge, he could only block. His sword light was like a cold star. It burst out and collided with the finger light. Ding! A piercing sound was heard. Intense airflow splashed in all directions. The sound of something breaking through the void could be heard. Young master Tian Luo's body suddenly shook. The cold star sword bent and shot backwards. Chi! Young master Tian Luo's feet landed on the ground. However, he couldn't stop the terrifying power. In the blink of an eye, he was pushed back dozens of meters before he could stabilize his body. Many warriors who were watching the battle gasped. Yin Yang Young Master's attack power was terrifying. Young Master Tian Luo's swordsmanship power was obvious to all. However, he was pushed back dozens of meters by Yin Yang Young Master's finger. "I'm not an idiot like Lei Bao. Your move is useless against me." Yin Yang Young Master sneered. He didn't give Young Master Tian Luo a chance to catch his breath. As he spoke, he used his scorching sun finger and continued to attack Young Master Tian Luo. The finger light was dazzling and scorching. It was like a scorching sun. People couldn't look at it directly. It contained a terrifying power. Whoosh! Facing Yin Yang Young Master's powerful attack, Young Master Tian Luo couldn't withstand it. A ray of starlight shot out from his glabella. He had used his astrology. A huge shining star floated above Young Master Tian Luo. It was a superior metal attribute astrology. It contained a terrifying murderous aura and a sharp aura. Terrifying metal attribute star power fell and was integrated into Young Master Tian Luo's sword move. Young Master Tian Luo's power multiplied, especially the sharpness of his sword light. It was terrifying. Wherever it passed, the airflow was cut open like tofu. Even Yin Yang Young Master's finger light was split apart by Young Master Tian Luo's sword light. Ding 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 ding, as the sword and finger collided, a series of crisp sounds rang out. Young Master Tian Luo used his astrology and his power was indeed incomparable. Not only did he block Yin Yang Young Master's scorching sun finger, he also gained the upper hand and started to counterattack. In an instant, there was only a terrifying murderous aura left within a few hundred meters. The sharp chi sword moved in all directions. It made people's hearts beat rapidly. Yin Yang Young Master retreated a few steps under Young Master Tian Luo's terrifying sword move. Many warriors were surprised. Was Yin Yang Young Master going to lose? Of course, most warriors didn't think so. Yin Yang Young Master had not used his astrology. His astrology was of the same origin as fire and water. It was extremely terrifying. In the eyes of the warriors, Yin Yang Young Master could only use his astrology to turn the situation around and have the hope of defeating Young Master Tian Luo. However, Yin Yang Young Master's choice was out of the expectations of the warriors. Even though he was at a disadvantage, Yin Yang Young Master still didn't use his astrology. Suddenly, a cold aura emerged from his left hand and he performed another martial technique. Middle-class spiritual martial technique, Cold Yin Palm. Yin Yang Young Master was multitasking. He performed two martial techniques at the same time. The scorching sun finger on his right hand and the chilling Yin Palm on his left. Yin Yang Young Master had cultivated both the scorching sun finger and the chilling Yin Palm to a very high level. He was only one step away from the perfection stage. These two martial techniques, one Yin and one Yang, complemented each other. When performed, their power was multiplied. Under the overlapping attacks of the scorching sun finger and the chilling Yin Palm, Young Master Tian Luo's sword radiance was shattered. His sword move was torn apart by the terrifying power and instantly weakened. In just a few moves, the situation was completely reversed. The Yin Yang Young Master had the upper hand. Scorching sun finger. Chilling Yin Palm. Yin Yang Young Master was multitasking. The power of the two martial techniques was terrifying. Under the combination of his two martial techniques, he was even more powerful than the two Yin Yang Young Masters. In less than 10 moves, Young Master Tian Luo was defeated by the Yin Yang Young Master's two martial techniques. The scorching sun finger shook off the cold star sword and the chilling Yin Palm pressed on Young Master Tian Luo's chest. In an instant, Young Master Tian Luo was frozen into an ice man and flew back dozens of meters. Yin Yang Young Master had won 7 battles. Just like Yi Xing, he had accumulated 7 points. There was only one battle left in the 10-sect tournament, the battle between Yi Xing and the Yin Yang Young Master. Whoever could win 8 out of 8 battles would become the champion of the 10-sec tournament. The loser would be ranked second. His recommendation vote had dropped to the 32nd place in the fantasy category. Could it get any worse? I beg for a recommendation vote. Chapter 329. Although the martial artists thought that the Yin Yang young master was stronger, they were still shocked by the defeat of the Yin Yang young master. The martial artists did not expect that the Yin Yang young master would defeat the Yin Yang young master without even using his astrology. The martial artists were amazed by the Yin Yang young master's ability to multitask and display the Yin and Yang spiritual martial arts at the same time. Although the more a martial artist cultivated, the more powerful his mind became. It was not strange for a martial saint to multitask. However, it was too shocking to display 2 martial arts at the same time in a fierce battle. Most martial sages were capable of multitasking. However, they were only capable of multitasking and doing relatively simple things at the same time. The difficulty of executing martial techniques at the same time in battle was too high. Not to mention martial sages, even enlightened masters would find it difficult to accomplish. Moreover, the Yin Yang young master's scorching sun finger and cold Yin palm were martial arts of different attributes. When he displayed them at the same time, the star essence in his body would be divided into 2 attributes, which would conflict with each other. If there was no way to balance them, even if he had the ability to display 2 spiritual martial arts, he would not be able to display 2 opposite attributes. This was closely related to the Yin Yang young master's astrology of the same origin of water and fire. Therefore, it was not only the Yin Yang young master's talent, but also his innate condition. Most of the martial artists had only heard of the Yin Yang young master's reputation and knew that he was powerful. However, they did not know how powerful he was. Today, they finally understood. The Yin Yang young master could display 2 spiritual martial arts at the same time. His combat strength was superior to any other young master of the same realm. Coupled with his martial arts talent and the special astrology of the same origin of water and fire, the other young masters could not compare to him. After witnessing the Yin Yang young master's strength, the martial artists felt relieved. Why was the Yin Yang young master ranked first even though his cultivation was the lowest among the young masters? His monstrous talent was indeed a level higher than the other young masters. Young Master Tian Luo was defeated and retreated. The battle came to an end. However, the martial artist's enthusiasm did not diminish. Instead, it surged and became more energetic. Because the next battle was the final battle of the 10-sex grand competition. It would determine the first and second place, which attracted the attention of the martial artists. Of course, the Yin Yang young master had defeated young Master Tian Luo without using his astrology. The Yin Yang young master was almost certain that he would be the champion of the 10-sex grand competition. However, they still wanted to know how strong Yi Xing had forced young Master Tian Luo to admit defeat. How powerful young Master's Tian Luo was. Whether young Master Tian Luo's decision to admit defeat was a wise decision or a foolish one, it could be seen from Yi Xing's performance. Tian Luo young Tian Luo. Yi young Master, Tian Luo had Tian Luo young Master. Tian Luo young Tian Luo's was Master. Young Master Tian Luo was Luo Master. Young Master. The battle between Yi Xing and the Yin Yang young master began after a while. The Yin Yang young master adjusted his breath for a while and recovered to his peak state. The martial artists of the Fallen Star sect looked at Yi Xing with excitement. Regardless of the outcome of the battle, Yi Xing was at least in the second place. He would receive double the rewards of the third place and obtain the best ranking in the history of the 6 southern sects. Moreover, there was a glimmer of hope in Lu Tianyuan's eyes. What if Yi Xing defeated the Yin Yang young master and won the 10-sex grand competition? What kind of surprise would that be? Although Lu Tianyuan had seen the Yin Yang young master's strength and felt that the chances of Yi Xing winning the first place were slim, as the sect leader of the Fallen Star sect, he could not help but think about it. What kind of glory would it be for a disciple of the Fallen Star sect to win the 10 sects grand competition in the Qingyun region? What kind of miracle would it be? Lu Tianyuan was thrilled and excited just thinking about it. In the field, Yixing and the Yinyang young master stood facing each other. The disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect clenched their fists tightly as they stared at Yixing. This was especially true for the Dark Nether young master and the Dark Nether young master. Originally, the 10 sects grand competition was supposed to be an elimination round. However, the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect had changed it to a point competition. The purpose was to deal a blow to Yixing. Unfortunately, the Dark Nether young master and the Dark Nether young master were defeated by Yixing. Not only did they fail to wipe away the humiliation in the Azure Cloud ancient land, but they had also become Yixing's stepping stones and were trampled on by Yixing. This caused the disciples of the two sects to hate Yixing to the core. Now, it was finally time for the battle between Yixing and the Yinyang young master. Naturally, they would not take their eyes off Yixing as they looked forward to the scene of the Yinyang young master beating Yixing up. The Yinyang young master glared at Yixing coldly as flames of anger burned in his eyes. His anger toward Yixing was not only because the Dark Nether young master and the Dark Nether young master were defeated by Yixing, but it was also because of the humiliation of being chased by the Fire Cloud Lion in the Azure Cloud ancient land. The Yinyang young master was a peerless genius. He was a monstrous genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years in the Azure Cloud region. He did not even care about the other young masters who were as famous as him. No matter where he went, he would always be the center of attention. However, in the Azure Cloud ancient land, he was chased by Yixing's Fire Cloud Lion like a stray dog. The Yinyang young master engraved this grudge in his heart and swore to take revenge on Yixing. The Yinyang young master said, "Brat. It's finally your turn. You meeting me is like the winter snow meeting the spring sun. Your end is here. I will repay you tenfold for the humiliation you gave me, the Dark Nether young master, and the Dark Nether young master. Today, before everyone's eyes, I will torture you like a dead dog." The Yinyang young master's voice was bone-chilling. It was like a knife scraping against one's ears. It was very harsh. The martial artists' spirits were lifted. The duel between the two of them would not end as easily as the previous duels. The martial artists of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect revealed a sinister look in their eyes. They could not wait to see the Yinyang young master ruthlessly torture Yixing and wipe away the humiliation in their hearts. As for the martial artists of the except for Qi Jingyang, who was secretly excited, most of them frowned. Lu Tianyuan sent a celestial essence sound transmission to Yixing. "Yixing, you have broken the highest record of the southern 6 sects and won enough glory for our sect. The Yinyang young master will not take this battle lying down. If you are not confident, you can admit defeat directly to avoid being humiliated. Sect master, rest assured. Yixing knows what he is doing." After Yixing sent a celestial essence sound transmission to Lu Tianyuan, he said to the Yinyang young master, "You speak as if you are stronger than me. Torture me? Are you qualified?" Yixing's words made the expressions of all the martial artists stunned. Listening to Yixing's tone, it seemed that the Yinyang young master's strength was not enough to defeat him. This immediately attracted the interest of all the martial artists. They couldn't help but wonder whether Yixing was just spouting nonsense, or, did he really have unimaginable heaven-defying strength? The Yinyang young master's face suddenly turned ashen. He regarded Yixing as an opponent on the same level as the Tian Luo young master, so he didn't put him in his eyes at all. He thought that he could defeat Yixing without using his astrology. Therefore, the initiative of this battle was in his hands. He could torture Yixing however he wanted. However, listening to Yixing's tone, it seemed that he didn't put him in his eyes at all. The Yinyang young master looked down on Yixing and thought that it was natural. But when Yixing looked down on the Yinyang young master, the Yinyang young master felt as if he had been greatly insulted and suddenly became furious. The Yinyang young master said, "I am the #1 genius of the Qingyun region in 1,000 years. As an 8-star martial saint, my strength is comparable to a half-step perfected one. You are only a 7-star martial saint. Even if you have the same strength as me, you are still unable to withstand a single blow from me. You will be tortured like a dead dog." Yixing laughed and said, "#1 genius? A genius who has been surpassed can also be called the #1 genius. Don't you think it's funny?" The Yinyang young master said disdainfully, "You surpass me? Are you qualified?" The Yinyang young master copied Yixing's tone and returned the insult. Yixing was not angry. His expression was indifferent and calm as he said, "In terms of cultivation, you became a 7-star martial saint at the age of 20, and I became a 7-star martial saint at the age of 17. In terms of strength, I will let you know that there is always someone better than you. The #1 genius, huh? Begging for a free recommendation ticket. Begging with tears." Chapter 330. Why Yixing's age was always overlooked. He was a 17-year-old 7-star martial sage with heaven-defying combat strength. Based on his current performance, he was almost invincible among 9-star martial sages. Everyone only noticed that Yixing's ability to challenge those of a higher cultivation level was on par with the Yinyang young master. However, they neglected the age gap between the two. It was only when Yixing mentioned it himself that the cultivators were deeply shocked. It turned out that Yixing was so young. The younger generation of martial sages around them were the most outstanding geniuses in the Qingyun region. However, most of them had just broken through to martial sage at the age of 17. As for the geniuses, their cultivation levels were only around 3-star martial sages at the age of 17. The Yinyang young master was slightly more outstanding. He had become a 4-star martial sage at the age of 17. Compared to Yixing, who had broken through to 7-star martial sage at the age of 17, he was simply too weak. In terms of cultivation, Yixing was 1 cultivation level lower than the Yinyang young master. However, at the same age, Yixing had truly surpassed the Yinyang young master. Of course, to a cultivator, one's current strength was the strongest. As long as Yixing's strength did not surpass the Yinyang young master's, it could not be said that he had surpassed him. In that case, the title of the #1 genius still belonged to the Yinyang young master. Only when Yixing truly surpassed the Yinyang young master would it be laughable for the Yinyang young master to hold the title of #1 genius. From Yixing's tone, it seemed that his strength was not weaker than the Yinyang young master's. If that was true, then it was too terrifying. His cultivation level was lower than the Yinyang young master's, but his strength was higher. Wouldn't that mean that he was a level higher than the Yinyang young master in terms of challenging those of a higher cultivation level? This was simply surpassing the Yinyang young master in all aspects. The title of #1 genius should be crowned on Yixing's head, not the Yinyang young master. Many cultivators' hearts wavered. In the beginning, the Yinyang young master's position in their hearts was unshakable. However, they had no choice but to re-evaluate Yixing's level now. However, even so, most people still did not believe that Yixing's strength could surpass the Yinyang young master's. The Yinyang young master could challenge those 2 cultivation realms above him. Now that he was an 8-star martial sage, his strength was on par with a half-step veritable personage. He was even stronger than the weakest half-step veritable personage. As for Yixing, he was only a 7-star martial sage. It was already very abnormal for him to be unrivaled among 9-star martial sages. Even if the Yinyang young master had some trump cards, he would definitely not be Yixing's match. Unless, the Yinyang young master had some means to deal with a sage. When the cultivators saw that Yi Xing was silent and the yin-yang young master was in high spirits and full of confidence, they became even more certain that the yin-yang young master would win. Yi Xing pondered for a moment before he said, "This battle forbids the use of formations, forbids the use of forbidden artifacts, and forbids the interference of outsiders. If we can do this, then why wouldn't I dare to fight with our true strength?" The yin-yang young master was slightly surprised that Yi Xing dared to do this. However, he was even more pleasantly surprised. If Yi Xing wanted to defeat him, he would need to have the strength to fight 3 cultivation realms above him. The yin-yang young master absolutely didn't believe that Yi Xing was that strong. Therefore, the yin-yang young master was 100% sure that he would win this battle. If he defeated Yi Xing and Yi Xing admitted defeat, it would be a little unreasonable for him to continue humiliating Yi Xing in the 10-sect Grand Tournament. However, as long as Yi Xing agreed to this bet and Yi Xing lost, he would have to follow the rules of the bet and slap himself 10 times and call himself a lowly pig or dog 10 times. Only then could the yin-yang young master vent the hatred in his heart. The yin-yang young master revealed a sinister smile and said, "This is the duel of the 10-sect Grand Tournament. It is a competition of one's own strength. Of course, formations, forbidden artifacts, and outsiders are not allowed to interfere. Since this is the case, let's bet. Everyone here can bear witness." Yi Xing nodded and said, "Let's bet. There are sage seniors and martial sages of the same generation present. They can all bear witness. If someone loses, don't go back on your words and be ridiculed by everyone in the Qingyun region." The yin-yang young master snorted and said, "This is exactly what I want to say to you. Kid, you are dead today. Lose for me." As soon as he finished speaking, the yin-yang young master unleashed 2 different terrifying auras. One was scorching hot and the other was icy cold. Scorching sun finger. Cold yin palm. In an instant, the yin-yang young master was multitasking. He performed 2 middle spiritual martial skills, one yin and one yang, and attacked Yi Xing. The power of the scorching sun finger and the cold yin palm overlapped. It was not as simple as 1 + 1. The combination of yin and yang contained an extremely terrifying power, as if it was going to destroy everything in front of it. Yi Xing clenched his fist and a terrifying power burst out from his body. A series of bone-cracking sounds came from his body. At the same time, a scorching aura burst out from Yi Xing's body. Yi Xing yelled and swung his fist forward. He performed an upper spiritual martial skill, Flaming Aura Fist, and faced the yin-yang young master's terrifying attack head-on. All the martial artists' eyes widened at this moment, their pupils dilated as they stared intently at the battlefield. As soon as the battle began, the 2 of them would actually engage in a head-on collision. Who was stronger and who was weaker would be revealed in a single move. Boom! The flaming aura fist collided with the scorching sun finger and the cold yin palm, creating an earth-shattering explosion. A terrifying power of alternating hot and cold rushed over. Yi Xing felt like he was being charged by a wild horse. His body shook and he was instantly pushed back. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xing was pushed back dozens of meters. Luckily, his body was strong and he had already controlled his body in the air. After he landed, he took a few steps back and stopped steadily. He did not fall to the ground and was not injured. However, the martial artists still cried out in surprise. The yin-yang young master was so powerful. In one move, he had pushed Yi Xing back. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. This battle seemed to be a foregone conclusion. The yin-yang young master laughed disdainfully. "This is the power you are so proud of?" As he laughed, the yin-yang young master rushed towards Yi Xing like a phantom. He attacked again with the scorching sun finger on his right hand and the cold yin palm on his left. Third update, please give me a free recommendation ticket. Chapter 331. Heavenly Bat Steps. Yixing took a step forward and disappeared in a flash. He had switched positions in an instant. Boom 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 boom, the Yin Young Master attacked like lightning. Scorching Sun Finger and Cold Yin Palm attacked continuously. His attacks were hot and cold at the same time. However, Yixing's heavenly bat steps, which had reached the perfection stage, combined with the Tittle Realm's wind momentum, made him unbelievably fast. He was even faster than the Tian Luo Young Master's sword steps. Even though the Yin Young Master's attacks were ferocious, he could not even touch the corner of Yixing's clothes after 10 moves. Yixing's speed is so fast. Many of the younger martial sages among the spectators exclaimed. Yixing's speed was so fast that they could not even see his figure clearly. Even some of the older perfected persons were secretly surprised. It was shocking that a martial sage could reach such a speed. The Yin Young Master attacked more than 10 times, but there was no effect. He immediately retreated and said coldly, "Coward, you only know how to dodge. Do you dare to fight me head-on? If you don't, why don't you admit defeat and slap yourself 10 times?" Yixing's heavenly bat steps had reached the perfection stage. Combined with the Tittle Realm's wind momentum, he was not only fast, but also unpredictable. Unlike the Tian Luo Young Master's sword steps, the Yin Young Master could not see the direction of Yixing's footwork and could not determine where Yixing would land next. He could only use words to force Yixing to fight him head-on. Yixing stood a few hundred meters away and said, "What's the hurry? I was just warming up. You can't beat me in speed, so you can't beat me head-on either." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Yixing exploded with a terrifying fire momentum. He performed the flaming dipper fist and punched out, attacking the Yin Young Master. Containing the Tittle Realm's fire momentum, Yixing's flaming dipper fist was much more powerful. When the Yin Young Master saw that Yixing had taken the initiative to attack, he didn't think much of Yixing, even though his aura seemed stronger than before. In his opinion, if Yixing really had the strength to contend against him, he would not have been instantly pushed back by him just now, nor would he have been able to continuously dodge his attacks. Good! The Yin Young Master roared, and the force of water and force of fire burst out. His right hand's ardent Sun Finger and left hand's cold Yin Palm attacked again. His momentum was like Mount Tai pressing down on Yixing. Most of the warriors watching the battle had the same opinion as the Yin Young Master. They thought that Yixing was seeking his own death by initiating the attack. He would be defeated by the Yin Young Master's combined attack. However, some of the martialists who had an extremely profound understanding of the forces of heaven and earth revealed looks of surprise. They could clearly feel that the force of fire contained in Yixing's punch was extraordinary. The power of this punch seemed to have increased qualitatively. When the fist force collided with the finger radiance and the palm radiance, there was a deafening explosion. Most of the warriors thought that Yixing would be instantly sent flying by the Yin Young Master, but the reality shocked them. Yixing's punch was unbelievably powerful. It was not at a disadvantage even when it collided with the Yin Young Master's combined attack. Boom! Yixing did not retreat half a step. In the blink of an eye, he threw out another punch. The fist force was resplendent, and its power was even stronger. Its momentum was like thunder, and its speed was like lightning. The air vibrated and transformed into waves that rushed forward. The Yin Young Master was shocked. He used the ardent Sun Finger on his right hand and the cold Yin Palm on his left hand at the same time. They attacked fiercely and collided with Yixing's fist force. The result shocked him again. The fist force shook but did not disperse. Instead, his ardent Sun Finger radiance and cold Yin Palm radiance were instantly shattered by the fist force. In an instant, Yixing had turned the tables. The terrifying fist force attacked forward. Its power shook the heavens. The scorching aura surged in all directions. Its momentum was like a landslide and a tsunami. It was unstoppable. Facing Yixing's powerful attack, the Yin-Yang young master had to retreat a step to avoid the attack. Boom, 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 boom. Every time Yixing threw out a punch, there would be a loud explosion that shook the heavens and the earth. After a few punches, there were continuous explosions. Every time the Yin-Yang young master retreated a step, Yixing would take a step forward. The terrifying fiery fist force forced the Yin-Yang young master to retreat step by step. Looking at the scene, the warriors who were certain that the Yin-Yang young master would win against Yixing were all shocked. They could not believe that Yixing's power had suddenly multiplied. He had overshadowed the Yin-Yang young master in one move. If this continued, the Yin-Yang young master would be suppressed and forced to retreat. Anyone could see that something was wrong. With every step the Yin-Yang young master retreated, the Yin-Yang young master's aura weakened. With every step Yixing took, the Yin-Yang young master's aura grew stronger. If this continued, in less than 10 moves, the disparity between the two's auras would reach an extreme level. The Yin-Yang young master would not be far from defeat. The Yin-Yang young master revealed a horrified expression. He had also comprehended the power of fire. He could clearly feel that his power of fire was being suppressed by Yixing's power of fire. Could it be that his power of fire has reached the minute realm? Sensing the horrifying power of Yixing's fist force, the Yin-Yang young master could not help but guess a terrifying fact. Normally, one could only comprehend the minute realm after reaching the advanced veritable personage realm. Even a genius would be pretty good if they could comprehend it before becoming a 7-star veritable personage. However, Yi Liang was only a 7-star martial sage. How could he comprehend the power of fire to the minute realm? Even though the Yin-Yang young master guessed it, he did not dare to believe it. He was also a martial technique genius with high comprehension ability. He was only an 8-star martial sage. Be it the ardent sun finger or the cold yin palm, he had already cultivated them to near perfection. It was precisely because of his high comprehension ability that he had a deep understanding of the power of water and the power of fire. However, the Yin-Yang young master's power of fire was still far from reaching the minute realm. Thus, he did not dare to believe that Yixing had already comprehended it to that level. Regardless of whether the Yin-Yang young master believed it or not, his description became increasingly grim. He could clearly feel that Yixing's aura was accumulating increasingly stronger. Thus, the power contained in the fist force was also becoming increasingly horrifying. If this continued, he would be suppressed to death by Yixing. Yixing, do you really think that you are a match for me? Today, I will let you experience this young master's astral form of the same origin of water and fire. The Yin-Yang young master shouted, and a beam of starlight shot out from his forehead, hovering above him. It was a star that was half fire and half sea. This star was of the same origin of water and fire. It was half fire and half sea. It was very obvious. Furthermore, this astral form contained two types of astral powers. One was water and the other was fire. Although it looked like a single astral form, in reality, the Yin-Yang young master's astral form was no different from a dual astral form. This was the most terrifying aspect of him. Once he used his astral form, it was as if he was using two astral forms. It was extremely powerful. Yixing, even if your strength is comparable to that of the most ordinary half-step perfected persons, you will not be able to withstand a single blow from my astral form of the same origin of water and fire. The Yin-Yang young master shouted loudly. His martial arts did not change. It was still the scorching sun finger in his right hand and the cold yin palm in his left. He attacked Yixing. The martial arts did not change, but the power had greatly changed. Even though Yixing had used the minute realm's power of fire into his flaming fist force, he could still feel the terror of the Yin-Yang young master's attack. His opponent's attack was so powerful that it was difficult for him to withstand it. Heavenly bat steps. Yixing decisively gave up on clashing head-on with the Yin-Yang young master. In an instant, his body moved like lightning and dodged to the side. Whoosh! At the same time, a ray of starlight shot out from between Yixing's eyebrows. In an instant, it turned into a blazing star that floated in the air. Yixing also used his astral form. His flame astral form had absorbed enough flame essence in the sea of flames. It had been raised to the limit of a superior grade astral form. The flame astral power it contained was extremely terrifying. In terms of grade, Yixing's flame astral form was a level higher than the Yin-Yang Young Master's water-fire astral form. Above it was the superior grade astral form. However, in terms of power, the Yin-Yang Young Master's water-fire astral form was stronger. After all, the Yin-Yang Young Master's astral form contained two types of astral power. Water and fire were of the same origin. It was almost equivalent to two astral forms. All the spectating ancient martial art practitioners stared unblinkingly at Yixing and the Yin-Yang Young Master. Both of them had used their astral forms. This was already a battle of peak strength. Kid, it's useless even if you hide. Once I use my water-fire astral form, even half-step perfected persons will have few opponents. Lose for me. Huh. After using the water-fire astral form, the Yin-Yang Young Master was full of confidence. He laughed maniacally as he attacked Yixing. Fourth update, please recommend me. Keep up the good work, I'll give you the fifth update later. Chapter 332. Yixing activated his super brain to scan. He knew how powerful the Yin-Yang Young Master's attack was. Although his fire astral aspect was of a higher level, its power was still inferior to his opponent's. Therefore, even with the surging star force of the fire astral aspect infused into his flaming dipper fist, it was still difficult for him to fight the Yin-Yang Young Master head-on. However, Yixing did not dodge the Yin-Yang Young Master's terrifying attack. With his super brain, not only could he detect the power of his opponent's attack, but he could also detect the weakness of his opponent's attack. The Yin-Yang Young Master's scorching sun finger and cold Yin palm were close to perfection and had very few weaknesses. However, the Yin-Yang Young Master was multitasking. His combination of the scorching sun finger and cold Yin palm was not flawless. In an instant, Yixing found the weakness of the Yin-Yang Young Master's combination of the two spiritual martial arts. Although it was not enough to defeat his opponent in one move, it was enough to attack the weak point and fight head-on. Flaming Dipper Fist. The star force of the fire astral aspect caused Yixing's Flaming Dipper Fist to become even more powerful. When he punched out, the void in front of him turned into a terrifying shockwave. Such a terrifying punch landed on the weak point of the Yin-Yang Young Master's combination of the two spiritual martial arts. One could imagine the destruction it caused. Even though the Yin-Yang Young Master was under the protection of his fire and water astral aspect, he did not dare to underestimate it. Boom 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 boom, Yixing punched out again and again. The two of them exchanged punches and palms, attacking with their fingers and blocking with their fists. It was a very intense fight. The surrounding martial artists looked at the two of them in shock. This was the attack of the two of them at their peak. It was indeed terrifying. At this moment, everyone thought that it was a wise decision for Tian Luo to admit defeat against Yixing. At this moment, young Master Tian Luo was also looking at Yixing. He could see that Yixing was at a disadvantage at this moment. However, he had a premonition that Yixing had more tricks up his sleeve. The Yin-Yang Young Master was extremely depressed. He could clearly feel that his attack power was much stronger than Yixing's. However, every time Yixing's Flame Gang Fist attacked, it would hit the weak points of the Yin-Yang Young Master's two spiritual martial arts. That was the weakest point of the Yin-Yang Young Master's attack. Thus, even though Yixing's attack power was much weaker than his, he was still able to fight him head-on. The Yin-Yang Young Master's explosive strength was even more powerful. He could clearly crush Yixing with absolute strength, but every time Yixing attacked, he would hit his weak spot. Even though he had great strength, he couldn't display the effects that he should have. Even though the yin-yang young master had the upper hand in the battle, he was still extremely sullen. It was only at this moment that he realized that Yi Xing was actually such a difficult opponent to defeat. He attached sufficient importance to Yi Xing and did not dare to underestimate him in the slightest. The yin-yang young master was alert. As he used the scorching sun finger and the cold yin palm, he tried his best to reduce the weak points between the two spiritual martial arts so that Yi Xing could hit his weak spot. However, it was extremely difficult to use two spiritual martial arts at the same time. It would take a long time to eliminate the weak points between the two spiritual martial arts. Thus, the yin-yang young master could only try his best to hide the weak points. However, Yi Xing was always able to accurately attack the weak points at the first moment. This made the yin-yang young master feel that he could not use his full strength. However, the yin-yang young master's method was not completely useless. As the weak points between the two spiritual martial arts became more and more hidden, it became more and more difficult for Yi Xing to hit them. The battle became more and more serious. If they continued to fight like this, Yi Xing would definitely be defeated. As the two fought head-on, their attacks were as fast as lightning. Soon, they had exchanged more than 30 moves. At this moment, Yi Xing suddenly attacked fiercely and his body retreated rapidly. He used the sky bat steps and instantly retreated hundreds of meters away. The yin-yang young master's lips curled up in a proud smile. He said, "Boy, you're finally at your limit? Although you are stronger than I expected, you cannot change the result. Today, you will lose." Yi Xing's expression was indifferent. He took off the blazing flame gloves and placed them into his storage ring. Then, he lifted his right hand and a black spirit spear appeared in his grasp. The black spirit spear was pitch black and even the spearhead was forged from spirit crow gold. It exuded a powerful aura. 2 dragon phantoms were carved into the spear shaft. As Yi Xing held it in his hands, he could feel the terrifying strength contained within. High-grade spirit spear, black dragon spear. Seeing the black dragon spear in Yi Xing's hands, the martial artist's pupils shrank. Many of them bloomed with a sharp light. A high-grade spiritual martial art was extremely rare and yet Yi Xing actually had 2 of them. The black dragon spear also came from the ancient Azure Cloud land. Everyone knew that Yi Xing would naturally use it whenever he needed to. Yi Xing grasped the black dragon spear in his right hand and pointed it towards the heavens. He faintly smiled as he looked at the yin-yang young master. Yi Xing said, "You might not know, but I don't specialize in palm skills. In truth, what I specialize in is spear skills. I was just playing around with you just now." The yin-yang young master's smile instantly froze. Yi Xing had fought with him for so long, but that was actually just playing around? It wasn't just the yin-yang young master whose smile froze. Most of the spectating martial artists were shocked. In particular, the martial artists of the Sun Moon sect and Profound Underworld sect. As they saw the yin-yang young master gain the upper hand and was about to win, they were all overjoyed. But as they heard Yi Xing's words, they were all stunned. With a spear in hand, Yi Xing's aura instantly became incomparably sharp. The black dragon spear in his hands was a high-grade spirit weapon. Yi Xing felt incomparably comfortable, hundreds of times more comfortable than when he held the purple plume spear. The glove's function was to protect the hands. Although it could increase the power of star essence, in terms of striking power, it was far inferior to true offensive weapons like sabers, spears, swords, and halberds. As a high-grade spirit weapon, the black dragon spear contained a formidable strength to begin with. In terms of increasing Yi Xing's striking power, it was even better than the blazing flame glove. At the Heaven Net sect, the Heaven Net sect's Heaven Net young master looked at Yi Xing from afar. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. He thought to himself, he really does have an even more formidable method. At this time, the Yin-Yang young master felt a foreboding feeling rise in his heart. Yixing was first forced back by the Yin-Yang young master. Then, after his fist contained the potential of fire, his strength suddenly rose and he was actually able to suppress the Yin-Yang young master. When the Yin-Yang young master tried to use astrology, for some unknown reason, Yixing was always able to see the flaws in the connection of his two different spirit martial arts, causing him to be unable to use his full strength. And now, Yixing was actually saying that he was only playing around. The Yin-Yang young master felt as if he were a monkey that had been played by Yixing. Moreover, Yixing's methods were endless, causing the Yin-Yang young master to feel that Yixing was an unfathomable existence. He felt that Yixing was like a bottomless pool of water. With this thought in mind, the Yin-Yang young master's momentum immediately weakened. As for Yixing, with the black dragon spear in his hand, his momentum was like a mountain. Yixing stepped forwards, walking towards the Yin-Yang young master. With every step he took, his momentum became even stronger. Yixing said, "I've played around enough just now. Now, it's time to play for real. My high-grade spirit martial arts aren't well trained. What I'm familiar with is medium-grade spirit martial arts. Take my spear." Whoosh! As his voice fell, Yixing and his spear turned into a dark beam of light. Dark spirit spear art, flash of light. The momentum of wind, the momentum of fire, and the momentum of darkness, these three great influences of the world were all fused into this move. Whether it was speed or striking power, both rapidly rose. Moreover, the fire star aspect provided endless fire star force, causing that dark beam of light to be covered with a layer of fire star force, making it even more powerful. The Yin-Yang young master's eyes widened. The strength and speed of this spear strike was terrifying. It was like it had flown out from hell and suddenly arrived in front of him. The Yin-Yang young master revolved his celestial essence to the limit. The fire and water star aspect in the sky also bloomed with light, showering down a massive amount of water and fire star force. Ardent sun finger. Cold Yin palm. The Yin-Yang young master instantly displayed two different kinds of spirit martial arts in a single breath, erupting his strength to the limit. Finger light and palm light overlapped, simultaneously attacking Yixing's spear. Clang! With a loud explosive sound, the Yin-Yang young master's strength was truly heaven-defying. Even though Yixing grasped the black dragon spear and displayed the dark spirit spear art to perfection, as well as the power of three great influences of the world, he was still blocked by the Yin-Yang young master. However, what the Yin-Yang young master never imagined was that at this moment, Yixing waved his left hand and an arrow shot out. Yixing faintly smiled. "In truth, I'm also good at archery." Chapter 333. The power of a perfect stage middle-grade spiritual martial force was comparable to that of a small success stage upper-grade spiritual martial force. Furthermore, the dark spirit spear technique was a dark attribute martial technique. It was much more powerful than normal martial techniques of the same level. The perfect stage dark spirit spear technique combined with the three forces of heaven and earth, two of which had reached the minute subtlety stage. Furthermore, it also contained the power of the fire celestial phenomenon. One could imagine how terrifying the attack would be. Even though Yixing was only a peak 7-star martial saint, the power of that spear attack was enough to compete with a half-enlightened being. The Yin-Yang young master was indeed powerful. Even though Yixing's spear attack was so powerful, he was still able to block it. However, the Yin-Yang young master was barely able to block it. He had used almost all of his strength to block Yixing's spear attack. Originally, Yixing's casual arrow would not be able to threaten the Yin-Yang young master. However, when the arrow suddenly shot over, it was like a stroke of God. It was so perfect that it instantly made the Yin-Yang young master feel a chill in his heart. All the hair on his body stood on end. An attack did not have to be powerful to be effective. It depended on the timing. When the timing was right, a straw could crush a camel. Currently, the Yin-Yang young master had used almost all of his strength to block Yi Xing's dark spirit spear technique. He was like a camel that had reached its limit. The arrow that Yi Xing suddenly shot out was that straw. Of course, this was only a metaphor. The Yin-Yang young master's strength was not something a camel could compare to. Even if he had reached his limit, with the support of the endless star power from the water and fire, he could still explode with a lot of power. However, Yi Xing's arrow was also not something a straw could compare to. Not only was it extremely fast, but it also contained a terrifying power. This arrow came too suddenly. The Yin-Yang young master had no time to block it. At the critical moment, the Yin-Yang young master twisted his body. His entire body spun like a spiral, creating a whirlwind. The arrow was like a flowing light. It was extremely fast. The distance between the two was also close. In an instant, it had arrived before the Yin-Yang young master. However, the Yin-Yang young master's reaction was indeed fast. In an instant, he rushed to the side like a whirlwind and dodged the arrow attack. In the blink of an eye, the arrow shot out, and the Yin-Yang young master dodged. Everything happened almost at the same time, less than the blink of an eye. Most of the spectating warriors were shocked when the arrow appeared. They felt that the Yin-Yang young master would not be able to dodge this arrow no matter what he did. However, when the Yin-Yang young master dodged the arrow, the crowd was even more shocked. The Yin-Yang young master's reaction speed far exceeded their expectations. At the same time, they heaved a sigh of relief. However, before they could let out a sigh of relief, they saw the arrow turn in the air and continue to shoot towards the Yin-Yang young master. Their hearts tightened again. The arrow turned in the air and changed direction. What level of archery was this? This meant that Yi Xing's attainments in archery had reached the second stage, follow your heart, and he could change the trajectory of his arrows as he pleased. As a result, the Yin-Yang young master was once again in danger. However, when the arrow changed direction and continued to shoot, it still took a moment for it to pass. In this brief moment, the water and fire star aspect above the Yin-Yang young master had already released a surging power of water and fire. Just as the arrow was about to strike the Yin-Yang young master's body, the power of water and fire intertwined to block it. Take another move of mine, Dark Spirit Spear. At this time, Yi Xing shouted out loud. The black dragon spear shined with a brilliant black light and a massive dark spear shadow shot out. As the Yin-Yang young master dodged the arrow attack, Yi Xing didn't remain idle. He revolved his celestial essence and raised his aura, using the dark spirit spear to attack the Yin-Yang young master once more. Moreover, this was the dark spirit spear's ultimate move. The huge dark spear radiance shot forward. The void in front of Lin Fan trembled at this moment, and a terrifying chi wave rushed out. Yi Xing's spear strike was the strongest attack he had prepared. As for the Yin-Yang young master, after blocking Yi Xing's divine light flash, he was forced into a fluster by the sudden attack of the arrow. He spent a tremendous amount of effort and finally managed to use the water and fire star aspect to block the arrow. But before he could take a breath, Yi Xing's even more powerful ultimate move had already arrived. Although the arrow that Yi Xing casually shot out just now hadn't been able to injure the Yin-Yang young master, it had created a massive effect. The Yin-Yang young master didn't even have time to catch his breath. The dark spear light shot out for hundreds of feet, instantly tearing through the void. In the powerful shockwave, the black dragon spear was 100 times more powerful. It pierced through the shockwave and instantly arrived in front of the Yin-Yang young master. The Yin-Yang young master's complexion changed. Just that wild shockwave had caused him to feel a terrifying strength. As for the dark spear light from the black dragon spear, it was terrifying to the extreme, making him feel a sense of imminent death. At this time, the Yin-Yang young master's strength completely erupted. His celestial essence revolved to the limit and the water and fire star aspect in the sky bloomed with a brilliant light. Water fire star, block for me. Endless water attribute and fire attribute star forces surged out from the water and fire star aspect. Combined with Yi Xing's half-fire and half-yin star essence, they wove together into a barrier of starlight. This barrier of starlight contained the power of water and fire. It constantly revolved and possessed a terrifying defensive ability. Beneath the shockwave, it remained motionless. Bang! In that instant, the black dragon spear thrust out with a dark spear light, thrusting into the water and fire star aspect, causing a heaven-shaking explosion. This strike was like the sharpest spear piercing into the toughest shield. Was the spear sharper or was the shield tougher? In the blink of an eye, the answer was clear. Kacha, the water and fire star aspect instantly broke apart as a hole was pierced through by the black dragon spear. However, the defensive power of the water and fire star aspect was indeed extraordinary. After the black dragon spear broke through it, its strength was greatly reduced. The dark spear light that pierced through the spear point completely vanished. Whoosh! The yin-yang young master borrowed the strength of this spear strike to explode backwards. In front of him was the water and fire star aspect that blocked his path. However, in the center of the water and fire star aspect, there was a head-sized hole. This was the result of the black dragon spear's strike. At this time, the terrifying aura of the dark spirit spear still lingered in this hole. Even though the power of water and fire stars gushed out to repair this hole, the speed was extremely slow. In the blink of an eye, the yin-yang young master drew back several hundred meters. Moreover, he continued to retreat. He knew that Yi Xing had used his ultimate move and erupted with his strongest attack, consuming a great deal of energy. As long as he could get away from Yi Xing and survive Yi Xing's next wave of attacks, he would be able to reverse his disadvantage and turn defeat into victory. After Yi Xing used the dark spirit spear, he didn't rush to chase after the yin-yang young master. Instead, he put away the black dragon spear and took out the purple firmament bow and purple gold arrow. The yin-yang young master wanted to open up some distance and avoid Yi Xing's attack, but that was simply wishful thinking. To Yi Xing, within a 10-mile radius, distance didn't exist. He nocked an arrow, drew the bow, and released it in a single breath. Azure Dragon Arrow style. In an instant, the arrow left the bow and broke through the air, turning into a giant azure dragon that roared out. The speed of the arrow was over 10 times faster than the yin-yang young master's retreat. The yin-yang young master wanted to get away from Yi Xing and let out a sigh of relief. But before he could relax, an even more terrifying attack came hurtling towards him. The arrow contained the potential of subtle wind and was fast to the extreme. It also contained the potential of subtle fire and the potential of darkness, greatly increasing its strength. Moreover, the purple firmament bow itself was a peak medium-grade spirit bow. When combined with Yi Xing's power of star essence, the power of astrology, and all sorts of other great potentials, his strength had reached a horrifying degree. Even if he didn't use the Sagittarius constellation, it was still enough to kill most half-step true masters. The azure dragon phantom smashed into the water and fire star, emitting a heaven-shaking explosion as cracks appeared on the water and fire star. Whoosh! The arrow shot forwards without slowing at all. It instantly passed through the hole in the water and fire star and arrived in front of the yin-yang young master in the blink of an eye. At this time, as the water and fire star was attacked, the yin-yang young master's star essence shook and he found it difficult to revolve it. The defensive effect of his protective star essence fell to its lowest point and was instantly torn apart by the arrow. The yin-yang young master's body shook. He felt as if something sharp had pierced through his throat, causing a cold sweat to drip down his back. He screamed out loud. All of the surrounding martial artists cried out in alarm. If this arrow had pierced through the yin-yang young master's throat, it would have been enough to take his life. Please recommend me. Please enter the rankings. Chapter 334. Formation Elder Lin Fenghua and Tool Pavilion Elder Hua Tianshu sat opposite each other in the guest hall of the Tool Pavilion Elder Mansion. There was an incense burner burning incense in front of Hua Tianshu and Lin Fenghua. The entire guest hall was filled with a sweet fragrance. The maid served tea to Lin Fenghua, the Formation Elder, and then respectfully retreated. Hua Tianshu made an inviting gesture to Lin Fenghua and said, "Elder Lin, please have some tea." Lin Fenghua lifted the teacup to his mouth and felt something was wrong. He put down the teacup and said, "Elder Hua, you called me here and said you wanted to tell me the secret about Yixing. Tell me." Hua Tianshu smiled faintly and said, "Elder Lin is really impatient. You don't even want to drink tea. Do you think I'll harm you after I invited you here?" Lin Fenghua did not respond. He did not have the intention to drink tea and just looked at Hua Tianshu quietly. After a while, Lin Fenghua said, "If Elder Hua doesn't want to tell me, then I'll take my leave." "Hey!" Hua Tianshu raised her hand and stopped Lin Fenghua. She said, "Elder Lin, please wait for a moment. I do have a secret about Yixing. Elder Lin, my disciple He Hongjiao died in the Falling Star secret realm. Yixing was the one who killed her." Lin Fenghua looked calm and said, "You call that a secret?" Yixing had reported most of his experiences in the Falling Star secret realm to Lin Fenghua. Lin Fenghua naturally knew that He Hongjiao was killed by Yixing. Moreover, he also knew that He Hongjiao had the forbidden weapon, the soul-severing shuttle, which Hua Tianshu gave her. Therefore, Hua Tianshu was the one who wanted to kill Yixing. No one saw He Hongjiao die in the Falling Star secret realm. Even if Hua Tianshu knew that Yixing killed He Hongjiao, there was no evidence. She could not punish Yixing according to the sect rules. Moreover, even if there was evidence, Lin Fenghua would not allow Hua Tianshu to convict Yixing. When Hua Tianshu saw Lin Fenghua's reaction, she knew that Yixing had already told Lin Fenghua about what had happened in the Falling Star secret zone. Moreover, Lin Fenghua would definitely protect Yixing. However, Hua Tianshu's purpose in talking about Yixing was not to punish Yixing, but to make other plans. She did not care whether Lin Fenghua would protect Yixing or not. Hua Tianshu said, "I'm afraid Yixing has an extremely sinister motive for killing geniuses of the same generation. I'm guessing that Yixing is most likely a spy that the East Fu sect has placed in our sect to kill our geniuses so that our sect will have no successors." Nonsense. Lin Fenghua slammed the table and stood up immediately. She shouted angrily, "Elder Hua, you are the elder of our sect's Tool Pavilion and the sect leader's wife. What kind of identity do you have? Why are you slandering a junior disciple? What are your intentions?" Lin Fenghua was indeed enraged. Her breathing quickened. The East Fu sect was the Falling Star sect's archenemy, especially the Falling Star sect's Lin clan's cultivators. More than 100 years ago, countless people had died in the hands of the East Fu sect. How could Lin Fenghua not be angry when Hua Tianshu said that her disciple was a spy of the East Fu sect in front of her? Seeing Lin Fenghua's anger, Hua Tianshu was not angry at all. Instead, she chuckled. Hua Tianshu smiled and said, "Elder Lin, why are you so agitated? I'm just guessing. I didn't say that Yixing is definitely a spy of the East Fu sect." Lin Fenghua said angrily, "If Elder Hua called me here just to say this, then I'm afraid I won't keep you company." Then, Lin Fenghua turned and left without giving Hua Tianshu any face. "Elder Lin." Hua Tianshu stopped Lin Fenghua and said, "Since you're not interested in Yixing's secret, how about I tell you one of mine?" Lin Fenghua stood still and did not turn around. He was not interested in Hua Tianshu's secret. He snorted and continued to walk out. Hua Tianshu looked at Lin Fenghua's back and the corner of her mouth rose. "Actually, I'm the spy of the East Fu sect." Lin Fenghua's body trembled. He turned and looked at Hua Tianshu with a shocked expression. "What did you say?" Hua Tianshu smiled and said, I said. I'm the real spy of the East Fu sect. The Falling Star sect's weapon pavilion's elder and the sect master's wife was a spy of the East Fu sect? Lin Fenghua found it hard to digest the news. He could not believe it. Lin Fenghua said, Elder Hua, are you kidding me? Even if you're the sect master's wife, you can't talk nonsense like that. They were in the Falling Star sect right now. If Hua Tianshu was a spy from the Dongfu sect, she would be digging her own grave. Lin Fenghua was already in disbelief at the news. After thinking about it, she couldn't believe it and thought that Hua Tianshu was talking nonsense. As soon as Lin Fenghua finished speaking, he suddenly felt weak in his legs. He felt like he could not stand, so he quickly supported himself on the chair next to him. Hua Tianshu's smile became brighter and more demonic. She said, Lin Fenghua, do you feel weak in your limbs and tired in your body? You can't stand even if you want to, and the astral energy in your body is not listening to you? Lin Fenghua broke out in a cold sweat. His body went limp and he fell on the chair next to him. He looked at Hua Tianshu angrily. You're really a spy of the East Fu sect. Lin Fenghua tried his best to circulate his astral energy, but he could not use it at all. Lin Fenghua's eyes were filled with horror. Today was the day when the young talents came out of the Qingyun ancient land and the 10 sects grand competition would be held. More than half of the perfected persons and elders of the Falling Star sect went to the old site of the Azure Cloud sect. There were only 6 perfected persons left in the sect, including him and the Grand Elder Lin Shuyuan. Since Hua Tianshu was a spy, the number had to be reduced to 5. He was the formation elder of the Falling Star sect. Now that he was in Hua Tianshu's hands, the Falling Star sect's formation was not controlled by him. With Hua Tianshu cooperating with the East Fu sect, the Falling Star sect was in danger today. Ha ha ha. Hua Tianshu laughed out loud and said, Are you surprised? Indeed, when I found out that I'm from the East Fu sect and the sister of the East Fu sect master, Watanabe Xiong, I was surprised and in disbelief. However, it's the truth. The blood of the Watanabe family flows in my body. I've done a blood test with the East Fu sect master, and it's absolutely true. Moreover, my parents left their mark on me so that I can recognize my ancestors in the future. Lin Fenghua felt more and more powerless. He had a lot of astral energy, but he could not circulate it. He was filled with anger, but he could not vent it. He wanted to shout, but he could not raise his voice. Lin Fenghua's eyes flashed with despair. What kind of poison is this? Hua Tianshu stood up, walked to the sound furnace, and said, Traceless incense. It's odorless, traceless, and won't have any reaction for a certain period of time. Only when enough of it is absorbed will it take effect. The body will be powerless, and the astral energy will not be able to circulate. This is a poison that's especially effective against enlightened masters. My elder brother left the Qingyun region and spent a lot of effort to get this for you. Lin Fenghua, you'll die a worthy death. Then, Hua Tianshu walked toward Lin Fenghua step by step. A cold light flashed in her hand, and a spiritual sword with a sharp aura appeared. Lin Fenghua was in a dead end, but he was not afraid. He gritted his teeth and said, Even if you kill me, don't you dare touch the foundation of the Falling Star sect. When my disciple grows up, the East Fu sect will be destroyed. Hua Tianshu laughed and said, Huh. You don't know, do you? My elder brother has become a 4-star enlightened master with the help of the Sun-Moon sect. After I kill you, I'll destroy the Falling Star sect's formation from the inside and let my elder brother and the others in. Those who stay in the sect will either surrender and become slaves of the East Fu sect or die. No one will be able to escape, haha. As for that little bastard Yixing, he should have been killed by Sir Watanabe in the Qingyun ancient land. The other disciples of the Falling Star sect should have been wiped out because the Flying Cloud sect has joined forces with the East Fu sect. Today, none of your disciples will be able to come out. As for Lu Tianyuan and the others, there's a trap waiting for them. They can't return to the Falling Star sect. Even if they die, they can only die outside the sect. Chapter 335. The old site of the Azure Cloud sect, outside the Azure Cloud ancient land. The final battle of the 10 sects grand tournament had finally come to an end. The victor had been decided. Just as the cultivators were exclaiming, the arrow that was about to pierce through the Yin-Yang young master's throat suddenly stopped in front of his throat. The tip of the arrow had already made contact with the Yin-Yang young master's skin. It had broken through, a bit of flesh and blood was seeping out. At this moment, the Yin-Yang young master's heart was trembling. His body was covered in cold sweat as he felt the sharp aura at his throat. He didn't dare to move. A drop of sweat slid down his nose and dripped onto the arrow. The Yin-Yang young master's gaze followed the drop of sweat. However, he could only see the arrow shaft. He couldn't see the arrow at his throat. The more he couldn't see, the more terrified he was. The cultivators of the Sun-Moon sect were all agitated at this moment. The Yin-Yang young master was a monstrous prodigy that was hard to come by in 1,000 years in the entire Qingyun region. He had the potential to lead the Sun-Moon sect to become a superior one-star sect. If he was killed by Yixing's arrow, it would be a devastating blow to the Sun-Moon sect. Therefore, when they saw that Yixing's arrow was already at the Yin-Yang young master's throat, the enlightened masters of the Sun-Moon sect were all furious. They instantly unleashed a terrifying aura. The arrow was too fast. They couldn't help, but if Yixing dared to kill the Yin-Yang young master, he would definitely be torn into pieces by the furious enlightened masters of the Sun-Moon sect. When they saw that the arrow had stopped in front of the Yin-Yang young master's throat, the enlightened masters of the Sun-Moon sect heaved a sigh of relief. Yixing's attainments in archery had reached the second stage, follow your heart. He could control the arrow to change its direction in the air. Of course, he could also control the arrow to move forward or stop. If he didn't have the confidence to stop the arrow, Yixing wouldn't have dared to shoot at the Yin-Yang young master's throat. He was very clear that if he killed the Yin-Yang young master, the enlightened masters of the Sun-Moon sect would definitely kill him. No one would be able to save him. Yixing put away the purple firmament bow. He looked at the Yin-Yang young master, who was drenched in cold sweat under the threat of the arrow. He said, "Yang Ming, you've lost." The Yin-Yang young master swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His heart pounded rapidly. He said, "Yes. Yes, I've lost. Please move the arrow away." Lost. Yin-Yang young master had been defeated. In this 10-sect grand tournament, the dark horse, Yixing's results had exceeded the expectations of all the martial artists. At the beginning, Yixing was firmly in the top 3. The martial artists were already very shocked, but in their hearts, they also believed that Yixing had reached his limit and could only be third. However, young Master Tian Luo's admission of defeat shocked the crowd. Yixing had actually jumped to second place, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Now, even the Yin-Yang young master had been defeated by Yixing. Yet, Yixing had actually won first place in the 10-sect grand competition. This wasn't just unexpected, it was simply unimaginable. All the martial artists looked at the young man in the field. He was only 17 years old, but he was already a 7-star martial saint. Moreover, he had the terrifying battle prowess of a half-step Taoist master. He had surpassed the Yin-Yang young master in one fell swoop and became the new number 1 of the younger generation in the Qingyun region. At such a young age, with such cultivation, with such strength, he had not only broken the 1,000-year record of the Qingyun region. Perhaps in the history of the Qingyun region, there had never been such a heaven-defying monstrous genius. At this moment, Yixing suddenly became lofty in the eyes of the crowd. His strength made them have no choice but to admit that he was indeed a peerless genius of the same generation in the Qingyun region. Yixing waved his hand and the arrow turned into a stream of light, flying back into Yixing's hand and disappearing. Yixing took a step forward. His eyes were like arrows, piercing through everything. He looked at the Yin-Yang young master and said, "Yang Ming, it's time for you to fulfill the bet." The Yin-Yang young master's expression changed. He wanted him to slap himself 10 times in front of the crowd and call himself a lowly pig or dog 10 times. Before the battle, the Yin-Yang young master was full of confidence, thinking that victory was in his grasp. He thought that he would definitely defeat Yixing, so he proposed this bet. His goal was to defeat Yixing and humiliate Yixing after Yixing. However, he had never expected that the battle would end like this. Slapping himself 10 times and calling himself a lowly pig or dog 10 times. When this happened to Yixing, the Yin-Yang young master felt very satisfied. However, now that it was his turn to complete the bet, he knew how humiliating it was. "No, no." The Yin-Yang young master took a step back and said no twice. He had no intention of fulfilling the bet. Yixing's eyes narrowed and said, "Yang Ming, this is the bet you proposed. All the cultivators here can be witnesses. Why, do you want to be a coward in front of the most elite cultivators in the Qingyun region? Do you want to be a shameless person who goes back on his words?" In the distance, the Sun Moon sect master shouted, "Yang Ming, come back." When the Yin-Yang young master heard this voice, it was as if he had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. He shouted, "I'm coming, sect master." Then, he dashed towards the Sun Moon sect. The cultivators were stunned. The Sun Moon sect master, Yin Wudao, actually let the Yin-Yang young master back down just like that? Yixing's heart was burning with anger. If he had lost, he definitely wouldn't have been able to escape. He would have been slapped 10 times and cursed 10 times. However, the Yin-Yang young master had lost and retreated just like that. Was he going to let it go just like that? Yixing looked towards the Sun Moon sect and shouted, "Is this how the Sun Moon sect handles things? Going back on your words in front of everyone, despicable and shameless. Do you have any shame?" The spectators all around started to jeer. Obviously, they looked down on the Sun Moon sect's actions. Especially the cultivators from the Sun Moon sect and the Blue Thunder sect. They all sneered. The Sun Moon sect's actions were indeed despicable. The Celestial Net sect master, Luo Zhan, sneered and said, "The Sun Moon sect is really thick-skinned. Your words are like farts." The Sun Moon sect master, Yin Wudao, snorted angrily. The Sun Moon sect was indeed unreasonable. Yin Wudao couldn't refute the Celestial Net sect master's mockery. He vented all his anger on Yixing. Yin Wudao stared at Yixing like a venomous snake. He said coldly, "Brat, do you want to die?" Yixing ignored Yin Wudao. He looked directly at the Yin-Yang young master and said, "Yang Ming, remember this. You owe me 10 slaps and 10 sentences. If you don't pay me back today, one day, I will make you pay me back double." Yin Wudao snorted and a terrifying killing intent flashed in his eyes. He said, "Brat, I'm afraid you won't have that chance." When the cultivators heard this, their hearts skipped a beat. Everyone could understand the meaning behind Yin Wudao's words. In the future, Yixing would definitely not be safe in the Green Cloud region. He. The Celestial Net sect master, Luo Zhan, laughed and said, "Little friend Yixing, if you have any difficulties in the future, don't hesitate to ask me. The Celestial Net sect will definitely help you." Yin Wudao was a threat to Yixing. On the other hand, Luo Zhan was trying to rope him in. Yixing smiled at Luo Zhan and said, "Thank you, Celestial Net sect master." Luo Zhan waved at Yixing and said, "No need to be so polite. Little friend Yixing, the Celestial Net sect will always welcome you as a guest." Yixing nodded and said, "I will." Luo Zhan nodded at Yixing. Then, he looked at the 4 judges and said, "The 10 sects grand competition has ended. Yixing is first, Yang Ming is second and Luo Lai is third. It's time to give out the rewards." The judges of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with depression. The judge of the Celestial Net sect was very happy. He had a bright smile on his face. The judge of the Blue Thunder sect was happy and disappointed. If it were not for the dark horse Yixing, the Thunder Prince of the Blue Thunder sect would have been third in the 10 sects grand competition and would have been rewarded. Now, he was fourth and had missed out on the rewards. Regardless of whether they were happy or depressed, the rankings of the 10 sects grand competition were clear. The Sun Moon sect could only follow the rules and could not act shamelessly like before. Soon, the rewards for the top 3 were given out. Yixing was rewarded with 300,000 lower star crystals, Yin Yang Master was rewarded with 200,000 lower star crystals, and Tian Luo Master was rewarded with 100,000 lower star crystals. 300,000 low-grade star crystals was almost equivalent to a small star crystal mine. This was definitely a huge sum of money. Even if Yixing had to hand over half of it to the sect, with 150,000 low-grade star crystals, he was definitely a wealthy person among the martial sages. There will be a new update tonight. Chapter 336. After the 10-sect grand competition ended, the top 10 sects left the old site of the Azure Cloud sect and returned to their respective sections. Not long after they left the old site of the Azure Cloud sect, the sect leader of the Tian Luo sect, Luo Zhan, sent 2 enlightened masters to monitor the whereabouts of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect. Yixing had won first place in the 10-sect grand competition and became the top junior genius in the Azure Cloud region. This undoubtedly made the cultivators of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect unhappy. Luo Zhan had to be on guard. The experts of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect might harm Yixing on the way back to the Falling Star sect. He was only 17 years old and was only a 7-star martial saint. However, he had surpassed the 8-star martial saint Yin Yang Young Master, who was 21 years old. Regardless of Yixing's talent, his current performance was monstrous and had great potential. Yixing was already on the opposite side of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect. This was undoubtedly a good thing for the Tian Luo sect. Of course, Luo Zhan would not let Yixing be harmed by the people of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect. As for the battle between the Falling Star sect and the Dongfu sect, it was not good for the Tian Luo sect to interfere. In the world of martial artists, there were rules in the world of martial artists. Under the situation that each sect had their own backing, it was taboo for a sect of a higher level to interfere in a battle between sects of the same level. This was because it would immediately expand the scope of the battle and force the backing sect behind the other party to have no choice but to interfere in order to protect their interests. What was originally a battle between low-level sects would evolve into a battle between high-level sections. This was the same principle as the elders not interfering in the battle between the younger generation of the sects, no matter how intense it was. Hence, if the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect attacked, the Tian Luo sect would interfere. If the Dongfu sect attacked, the Tian Luo sect could only watch from the sidelines and let the two sects fight. Even if Luo Zhan thought highly of Yixing and wanted to nurture Yixing, he could only protect Yixing's life if he interfered. He could not interfere in the survival of the Falling Star sect. Otherwise, it would cause the Sun Moon sect or the mysterious underworld sect to interfere and expand the scope of the battle. The 2 enlightened masters that Luo Zhan sent out followed the Sun Moon sect and the profound underworld sect's teams from afar. They didn't notice that anyone from the 2 sects' teams had left. Everyone from the Falling Star sect sat on their Violet Flame Monarch Eagles and flew towards the Falling Star sect from the old site of the Azure Cloud sect. Yixing was, of course, the focus of the group. The strength that he had displayed had indeed astonished everyone. The fact that he had come first in the 10 sects grand competition made the people of the Falling Star sect extremely excited and proud. All the disciples congratulated Yixing. Even the elders were full of praises for him. However, for some reason, Yixing felt as if there was something stuck in his heart, and he felt a little annoyed. An hour after leaving the old site of the Azure Sky sect, Lu Tianyuan's face suddenly warped in shock, and he exclaimed, "This is bad. The sect is under attack." At this moment, Lu Tianyuan was holding a communication bead in his hand as he received news that his sect was under attack. Hearing this, everyone on the Purple Flame Monarch Eagle's back was shocked. The martial artists present were all from the Falling Star sect. Some were seniors, and some were juniors. The sect being under attack was the most important thing for each of them. Qi Dosheng, whose temper had plummeted, immediately roared, "Who is attacking the sect? Is it the Dongfu sect? Kill them all. Burn the bastards of the Dongfu sect to ashes." Several disciples waved their fists and shouted loudly. However, Yixing was startled. He suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if an ice-cold hand had touched him all the way to the bottom. Yixing had been paying attention to Lu Tianyuan's expression. He saw that Lu Tianyuan's face suddenly turned pale, and then, it turned gray, full of pain and despair. The enlightened masters and elders obviously noticed the change in Lu Tianyuan's expression and were shocked. The law-enforcing elder, Yu Pinghai, was so excited that he grabbed Lu Tianyuan's arm and asked, "Sect leader, what happened to the sect?" "Ah!" Lu Tianyuan roared and clenched his fists. Tears filled his eyes as he said, "The sect has been breached. The Grand Elder, the Array Elder, the Martial Pavilion Elder, and the Elixir Pavilion Elder died in battle. The sect has been taken over by the Dongfu sect leader, Watanabe Xiong." Whether it was the enlightened masters or the younger disciples, everyone was petrified on the spot. Lu Tianyuan's words were like a bolt from the blue, ringing in their minds. The sect was breached and taken over by the Dongfu sect? All of this happened too suddenly. Everyone could not believe it. The enlightened masters and elders had just come out of the sect this morning. How could the sect be breached in less than a day? This is impossible. Lin Fengjue, the sect leader, roared in a shrill voice. He was a descendant of the Lin clan. How could he believe that his cousin Lin Fenghua and uncle Lin Xiuyuan had both died in battle? Everyone's faces were as pale as Lu Tianyuan's. Moments ago, they had been overjoyed and proud of Yixing's achievements. But now, they felt as if they had fallen from heaven to hell, and their hearts were dripping blood. Yixing only felt a buzzing sound in his mind. He almost lost his balance and fell. He finally understood why he had been panicking and why he felt suffocated and depressed when he should have been happy. It turned out that he had a feeling that the sect was breached and his master was dead. The figure of his master, Lin Fenghua, appeared in Yixing's mind. It was so clear as if he was right in front of him. Lin Fenghua took him in as a disciple in the Star Crystal Mine. Lin Fenghua helped him enter the Fallen Star secret territory in the Fallen Star sect. Lin Fenghua taught him array formation in the Array Elder's mansion. Scenes of the past flashed across Yixing's mind. His eyes could not help but moisten. He had never thought that one day, the sect would be attacked and destroyed. Even more so, he had never thought that his master, Lin Fenghua, would die. This news was like a heavy hammer that struck Yixing hard. It made Yixing experience the cruelty of the martial arts world once again. Yixing's eyes burned with anger. The anger in his heart was like a volcanic eruption that rushed up his body. At this moment, the killing intent in Yixing's heart was extremely strong. He seemed to have returned to the battlefield in Zishan County. When he saw Yang Yun, Lu Chen, and Wan Xingliang, his 3 comrades, die in front of him, that monstrous anger burned fiercely in his body. It was as if it wanted to burn everything. Yixing could not wait to kill everyone in the Dongfu sect. The aura in Yixing's body was affected by the flames of anger. In an instant, it went berserk. It instinctively moved quickly in his body and merged with the invisible flames of anger. His aura became stronger and stronger. Yixing's cultivation had already been consolidated at the peak of the 7th star martial saint realm in the Yama Sea of Flames. However, his state of mind was not complete. Therefore, he could not break through to the 8th star martial saint realm. Today, Yixing had participated in the 10-sect grand tournament and fought fiercely with experts like young master Tian Luo and young master Yin Yang. During the battle, Yixing's state of mind had been greatly tempered, causing it to gradually become complete. Now, under the anger of his sect being destroyed and his master's death, the door in Yixing's heart was completely blown open by the flames of anger. The flaw in his state of mind that prevented him from increasing his cultivation was instantly burned away by the flames of anger. At this moment, Yixing's heart was only left with the desire to become stronger and take revenge. His cultivation surged mightily toward the 8th star martial saint realm. Almost without any obstruction, Yixing broke through the cultivation barrier of the 7-star martial saint realm and broke through to the 8-star vortex realm in one fell swoop. At this moment, all the martial artists were completely shocked by the news that Lu Tianyuan had said. No one paid attention to the changes in Yixing's cultivation. The veins on Qi Dosheng's neck bulged. This sudden cruel news had almost made him go berserk. Qi Dosheng tried hard to control his emotions so that he would not go crazy and go berserk. He roared in a low voice. The Supreme Elder is a 3-star martial sage. How could he die in battle? Unless it was a mid-level martial sage from the 4 northern sects, who could kill him? Also, the Supreme Elder, the Formation Elder, the Martial Pavilion Elder, and my father have all died in battle. What about the Weapon Pavilion Elder and the Sect of Fair Hall Elder Li Hongguang? How are they? Did they manage to escape? There was extreme pain in Lu Tianyuan's eyes. Obviously, there was something that he could not believe. It was even more unbelievable than the sect being breached. Lu Tianyuan gritted his teeth and said, Hua Tianshu and Li Hongguang have already betrayed the sect and colluded with the Dongfu sect. The sect was breached, and the two of them are the main culprits. The Dongfu sect's sect master, Watanabe Xiong, has already broken through to the 4-star martial sage. The Supreme Elder died in the hands of Watanabe Xiong. A 4-star martial sage. The eyes of the martial sages and elders suddenly widened. The junior disciples revealed looks of despair. I'm sorry that I couldn't finish 5 chapters today. The plot is at a turning point, and I don't know how to start writing. Secondly, I was angered by that bastard Aaron Targaryen in the forum. I'm always easily affected by it. This is wrong. I shouldn't step on the dog when it bites me and then take it to heart. I will correct myself and try not to be affected by this dog in the future. Up until today, the Archer God still lacks 2 chapters. This is very distressing for me. I also want to finish it quickly so that I can release more chapters. Although I've been releasing chapters most of the time, I haven't released for many days. I've been working hard. Since I can finish 49 chapters, then I can be sure that I can finish the last 2 chapters as well. Since I can finish 51 chapters in a little more than a month, then I can be sure that I'll be releasing more than 51 chapters this year. Please give me some time. I'll release more chapters if I don't release more chapters. If you're willing, please give me a vote to support me. If it makes me feel better, then I'll release more chapters. If you're not willing, please read quietly. Don't scold people. This will only disturb my emotions and cause me to release fewer chapters. Lastly, I'm really sorry that I couldn't finish 5 chapters today. I wanted to finish 5 chapters today and ask for monthly votes after I've finished my chapters. Sigh, I don't have the face to ask for votes now. Chapter 337. 3-star sage was already at the peak of the 6 southern sects. A 4-star sage was rare in the southern part of the Azure Sky region. Every 4-star sage had the ability to establish a sect in the southern part of the Azure Sky region. The founding masters of the 6 southern sects were all 4-star sages. Watanabe Xiong had broken through to become a 4-star sage, which meant that he had reached the same level as the founder of the Fallen Star sect. Now that the Fallen Star sect had been breached and lost its barrier, the remaining people couldn't fight against the Dongfu sect. Enforcement Elder Yu Pinghai looked dazed. Hua. Elder Hua. Madam Sect Master. How could she have colluded with the Dongfu sect and betrayed the sect? Everyone was equally shocked, but they didn't dare say it in front of Lu Tianyuan. Lu Tianyuan's expression turned to stone. His eyes were dull and lifeless. This was also a question that he found hard to accept and hard to believe. This morning, Hua Tianshu had told him that she was pregnant with his child, but now she had become a traitor of the Fallen Star sect. She had colluded with the Dongfu sect and attacked the Fallen Star sect. How could Lu Tianyuan accept this? Pfft! Lu Tianyuan suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and swayed. Sect Master! Everyone exclaimed. Qi Dosheng supported Lu Tianyuan and said, Overlord, you can't fall now. As long as you're here, the Starfall sect will rise again one day. After spitting out the blood that had accumulated in his heart, Lu Tianyuan felt much better. His eyes regained their vigor. He just couldn't accept it, so he was a little dazed. But as the sect master, how could he fall now that the sect was in danger? Even if he fell, it wouldn't be because of himself, but because of the battle with the enemy. Lu Tianyuan pulled himself together and quickly regained his spirit, suppressing the pain in his heart to the deepest part. Lu Tianyuan said, the Star Crystal Mine is protected by the Formation Elders Level 3 formation, so it hasn't been destroyed yet. Elder Gu Tianshang is controlling the formation in the Star Crystal Mine, so the Dongfu sect won't be able to take it down in a short time. Let's change our route and head to the Star Crystal Mine. Under Lu Tianyuan's command, the Purple Flame Monarch Eagle changed its direction slightly and flew towards the Star Crystal Lode that Yixing had discovered. When Yixing had discovered the Star Crystal Vein, he had never imagined that the day would come when the Star Crystal Vein would become the Falling Star sect's last bastion. The Purple Flame Monarch Eagle soared through the air, causing the wind to howl. On the eagle's back, the warriors of the Falling Star sect sat quietly. They were all silent, immersed in the grief and resentment of losing their sect and their friends and family. Deep worry could be seen in the depths of Lu Tianyuan's eyes. They were the future of them, and it was still unknown whether or not they would be able to reach the Star Crystal Vein safely. If this group of people was also gone, even if the Falling Star sect still had those people guarding the Star Crystal Vein, it would only exist in name. With those people, there was no chance for the Falling Star sect to rise again. If they wanted the Falling Star sect to rise again, they would need at least one condition. That was, in the future, the Falling Star sect must have a genius who could contend with a 4-star sage. Only then would they be able to lead the Falling Star sect back and rise again. With this thought in mind, Lu Tianyuan's gaze instinctively fell on Yixing. As of now, Yixing was the only genius of the younger generation who had such potential. At this moment, Yixing was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. The aura in his body was circulating. After breaking through the barrier of the 7-star Martial Saint realm, his cultivation was rising steadily in the 8th-level Star Vortex realm. He had absorbed too much flame energy in the Sea of Yama flames. As his physical body strengthened, he had stored the energy in his flesh and bones. When Yixing was a 7-star Martial Saint, his cultivation was at the peak of the 7th level. The star vortex in his dantian and the meridians in his body had been filled with dense star essence. He could no longer absorb the energy stored in his flesh and bones. Now that he had broken through to the 8-star Martial Saint realm, Yixing's capacity for star essence had increased by a lot. There was also room for improvement in his star vortex. Naturally, he would quickly absorb the flame energy in his flesh and bones to consolidate his cultivation. Furthermore, Yixing's state of mind was greatly affected, and he almost went berserk. However, when he adjusted his emotions and suppressed all his anger, unwillingness, and resentment, and turned them into calmness, Yixing felt his entire state of mind rising to a higher level. At this moment, his heart was as calm as water. The aura in his body was not controlled by anger and resentment. This was thanks to the powerful super brain and the black hole astrology in his glabella. Although his heart was calm, it did not mean that Yixing was not angry or resentful. It did not mean that Yixing did not care about the survival of the sect and the life and death of his master. All these were engraved in Yixing's heart. However, he did not lose control of his aura and go berserk because of this madness. Instead, his heart was as calm as a mirror. Everything was engraved in his heart. Once he had the chance, he would eliminate the entire Dongfu sect in one fell swoop. Yixing's state of mind was improving. For the first time, he could clearly feel the power of his mind. The second level of archery was follow the heart. At this level, the stronger one's heart, the higher one's attainments in archery would be. Yixing did not deliberately cultivate or comprehend it. However, his cultivation and archery were rising rapidly. Lu Tianyuan looked at Yixing. At first, he did not feel anything. Yixing was sitting with his eyes closed. He was very calm and normal. However, when Lu Tianyuan looked at Yixing and observed him with his heart, a trace of surprise flashed in his heart. At this moment, Yixing's body seemed to be in harmony with the Tao. His entire body was flowing with a trace of Tao rhyme. Astral energy gathered in Lu Tianyuan's eyes as he focused on Yixing. Under his careful observation, he could finally see that Yixing's cultivation had broken through another level. He had become an 8-star martial saint. Moreover, the Tao rhyme in Yixing's body seemed to be related to his mind. Lu Tianyuan was astonished by this. The first level of archery was transformation. The second level was follow the heart. In fact, this could be applied to other martial arts as well. Sword Tao, Saber Tao, Fist Tao. Which one did not emphasize transformation first and then spiritual comprehension later? Astral realm enlightened masters focused on spiritual comprehension when they cultivated martial arts. Only when one's spiritual comprehension was high could they cultivate martial arts to a higher level. The second level of archery, follow the heart, was divided into 9 transformations. This represented the power of spiritual comprehension. It was divided into 9 levels. With each level, when the arrow was shot in the air, it could change direction according to the archer's thoughts. The performance of archery was the change of direction. The performance of other martial arts was the improvement of one's martial arts attainment and the increase of one's martial arts power. When an enlightened master with the power of the spiritual perception performed a perfect stage lower-tier spiritual martial force, its power would definitely be much stronger than a martial saint performing a perfect stage lower-tier spiritual martial force. It was because once the power of the spiritual perception reached a certain level and merged with the martial arts, then the perfect stage martial arts would increase to the transformation stage. When the spiritual martial art reached the transformation realm, spiritual comprehension was the key. Yixing was now in the state of spiritual comprehension. Moreover, the Tao rhyme had appeared in the state of spiritual comprehension. This meant that Yixing's spiritual comprehension was extraordinary. The reason why Lu Tianyuan was shocked was that even for an enlightened master, the appearance of Tao rhyme during spiritual comprehension was something that could only be encountered but not sought. Compared to this, Yixing's cultivation breakthrough to the 8-star martial saint realm did not seem so special. During the 10-sect grand competition, he was still a peak 7-star martial sage. It seems that he had accumulated enough cultivation at that time. What he lacked was the comprehension of his mental state. Now that he is comprehending his mental state, his mental state will improve and his cultivation will naturally break through. Lu Tianyuan thought for a while and guessed most of Yixing's situation. Looking at Yixing, who was possessed by the Tao rhyme, Lu Tianyuan's heart revealed a gratified expression. He thought to himself, an 8-star martial saint's spiritual comprehension has reached such a level. I wonder what level he will reach. Such a genius is indeed a god's favored one. The small stage of the green cloud region cannot accommodate him. Perhaps even the true Xian domain is only a small pawn to him. Such a god's favored one should shine in the entire East Divine Continent, or even the Star Land. As long as Yixing is protected, the falling star sect will not be destroyed. Moreover, there is hope that it will become a super force that dominates a region. Chapter 338. Lu Tianyuan was right to be worried. They were intercepted when they were still 10,000 miles away from the star crystal mine. Dongfu sect was not the only one who intercepted the falling star sect. Flying Cloud sect, Holy Wind sect, and Blood Ghost sect each had 2 perfected masters. There was also a 3-star perfected master from Sun Moon sect. Dongfu sect had 5 perfected masters, Flying Cloud sect, Holy Wind sect, and Blood Ghost sect each had 2 perfected masters, and Sun Moon sect had 1 perfected master. There were 12 perfected masters in total. Among them, there were 2 3-star perfected masters, Grand Elder Dubian Tan and Sun Moon sect's Qizhua. There were 5 2-star perfected masters, 2 from Dongfu sect, and 1 each from Flying Cloud sect, Holy Wind sect, and Blood Ghost sect. There were 5 1-star perfected masters, the same as the 2-star perfected masters. Everyone from the Falling Star sect was shocked. There were only 6 perfected masters on the Falling Star sect side. Moreover, among the 6 enlightened masters of the none of them was a 3-star enlightened master. There were only 3 2-star enlightened masters, Sect Master Lu Tianyuan, or Pavilion Elder Qi Dosheng, and Law Enforcement Elder Yu Pinghai. Lin Fengjue, Tang Yuntian, and Wei Yang were all 1-star perfected masters. As for the 10 younger disciples, although they were the most elite of the younger generation of the none of them was an immortal, and none of them was even a 9-star martial saint. In this battle, they were of no use at all, and could even be said to be a burden. Comparing the two, it was obvious that the difference in strength between the two was like heaven and earth. Even with Yixing's Fire Cloud Lion, the difference could not be reversed. The purple flame monarch eagle felt threatened. The feathers on its neck stood up, and it looked fierce. Under Lu Tianyuan's command, the purple flame monarch eagle landed on a hill. Dongfu sect also had level 3 demonic beasts as mounts. If they fought in the air, the purple flame monarch eagle would not be able to take care of so many people on its back. Lu Tianyuan asked everyone to go down, but he stopped Yixing, sect leader. Yixing looked at Lu Tianyuan. Yixing, you are the hope of our sect. The purple flame monarch eagle will take you out. What you need to do is to survive. As long as you are here, so is the falling star sect. As he spoke, Lu Tianyuan took off his storage ring and stuffed it into Yixing's hand. Yixing knew about this ring. It was a keepsake belonging to the sect master of the Falling Star sect. It had the sect master's symbol on it. Furthermore, this headmaster's ring was a middle-grade storage ring. Its space was much larger than a low-grade storage ring. Just this point alone made it 100 times more valuable than a low-grade storage ring. The people who had yet to get off the eagle's back were all startled. Lu Tianyuan had given the sect leader's ring to Yixing, which was equivalent to passing the position of sect leader to Yixing. Moreover, from Lu Tianyuan's words, everyone could tell that Lu Tianyuan wanted to give the purple flame monarch eagle to Yixing alone, so that he could bring Yixing out of the encirclement. As for the rest, they could only fight to the death with the enemy. With such a great disparity in strength, this was a battle to the death. Among the younger disciples, a few of them immediately fell to the ground. If they stayed, they would die without a doubt. Sect Master, the younger disciples here are all the elites of our sect. How can we only protect Yixing and abandon them all? The law enforcement elder immediately objected. He said, the 6 of us are perfected beings. If we stay and fight to the death, we will have no regrets even if we die. However, they are the future of our sect. We must protect them all. Lu Tianyuan's eyes were filled with struggle. But soon, he revealed a ruthless expression. With each extra person, the purple flame monarch eagle will have to send out more energy to protect them, and it will slow down a bit. Only by protecting Yixing will we have the highest chance of getting out of here. If everyone is safe, then none of us will be able to get out. Even the purple flame monarch eagle will die here. Then, our sect will have no chance to rise again, and will be completely wiped out. Yixing's heart was bleeding. Even though he was calm and did not go berserk, he could not stop his blood from boiling. At this moment, everyone was going to fight to the death, but he was the only one who could escape on the purple flame monarch eagle. How could he be afraid of death? If he could control his blood, he would rather stay and fight to the death with the sect master and the others. However, his mind was calm. He was not affected by his blood. Rationally, he knew that he could not stay. He had to try his best to escape. If he stayed, he would definitely die. He would only be fulfilling the enemy's wish. This was the result that the enemy wanted to see the Falling Star sect completely destroyed. There would be no chance for them to rise again. If he could escape, then he would be the hope for the Falling Star sect to rise again. He would become the enemy's nightmare and make them unable to eat or sleep in peace. Lu Tianyuan was right. As long as Yixing was alive, the Falling Star sect would still exist. Therefore, Yixing had to stay alive. At this moment, Yixing could not say anything. Letting the other disciples die here while he escaped on the purple flame monarch eagle was in the interest of the sect. However, he did not have the right to let others die for him. Yixing only looked at Lu Tianyuan with determination in his eyes. Lu Tianyuan nodded with a gratified look on his face. He saw the answer in Yixing's eyes. The sect master is right. If Yixing doesn't make it out alive, the Falling Star sect will no longer have a chance to rise again. We have to do our best to let the purple flame monarch eagle carry Yixing and escape. Only if Yixing escapes this calamity will our deaths not be in vain. Qi Dosheng said loudly. Then, he came to Qi Jingyang and jumped off the purple flame monarch eagle's back. Qi Dosheng patted Qi Jingyang's shoulder and said, "I'm sorry, son. I can't save your life today. The blood of the Qi clan flows in our veins. Don't be afraid of death. Today, we will live and die together. Even if you disappoint me in terms of cultivation, you are still a good man of the Qi clan. Father, I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. Get me out. Let the purple flame monarch eagle get me out." At this moment, Qi Jingyang was scared out of his wits. How could he still be hot-blooded? He hugged Qi Dosheng's leg and cried. Sigh. Qi Dosheng shook his head and sighed. Disappointment flashed in his eyes again. His face was ashen. No matter how Qi Jingyang begged, his expression did not change at all. In order to let Yixing escape, Qi Dosheng even brought his own son off the eagle's back. The rest of the disciples were unwilling, but they knew that there was nothing they could do. They dispiritedly got off the eagle's back. Yixing also let the fire cloud lion get off the eagle's back. Soon, only Yixing was left on the purple flame monarch eagle's back. Beside the purple flame monarch eagle, Lu Tianyuan patted Ma Ren's shoulder and said, "Ren, your talent is not bad either. Do you blame me for being cruel?" Ma Ren shook his head and said with determination, "Master, I understand. If I were in your position, I would make the same decision. The Fallen Star sect cannot be destroyed like this. There must be hope. I believe in Yixing. He will definitely rebuild the fallen star sect and bring it to greater heights. Even if I die, I will watch from above and watch Yixing take revenge for the fallen star sect. At the end of his sentence, Ma Ren's gaze had already shifted to Yixing. In fact, his words were also directed at Yixing. Yixing, don't disappoint us and die with everlasting regret. Ma Ren looked at Yixing and said. The few enlightened masters and elders all looked at Yixing with hopeful eyes. Yixing clenched his right fist and said, as long as I am here, so will the fallen star sect. One day, I will make all the enemies of the fallen star sect, no matter which sect they are from, disappear from the world. I will make the fallen star sect the #1 sect in the Green Cloud region. This was Yixing's promise. Lu Tianyuan's pupils suddenly dilated. He had heard some hidden meaning from Yixing's words. Becoming the #1 sect in the Green Cloud region meant that the fallen star sect would surpass the northern 4 sects in the future. And this was not something that could be achieved with words. However, since Yixing had said it, it was definitely not a lie. This meant that Yixing already had a martial technique that could surpass the northern 4 sects, a complete upper-tier martial technique of the fallen star technique? Or an upper-tier martial technique of the fallen star technique? Lu Tianyuan realized that Yixing's gains in the fallen star secret territory were definitely not as simple as what Yixing had revealed. Lu Tianyuan was the lord of the fallen star sect. Therefore, when Yixing said this, he immediately thought from the Lord's point of view and realized this possibility. The others did not react in time. Lu Tianyuan looked at Yixing with a questioning gaze. The moment their eyes met, they seemed to have a tacit understanding. Yixing nodded. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.